Welcome to the Hunters Hub, a Monster Hunter community podcast for hunters by hunters. Welcome, hunters, to the Hunters Hub, a Monster Hunter podcast. Today, we are joined by my co-host, TheWrathOfGOg. I am Fortuan, in case you don't know. And we have our guests, JealousCrow.
Hey, what's up?
And VenfulTorture.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Very interested in him.
What? Very interested in me?
Name.
Oh, yeah. It stems from angsty teenage years that just never went away.
Nice.
That rocker side.
Right.
Okay, cool. So what we normally like to start out with introductions. So I guess I'll just start out by introducing myself, and we'll just go around the table for each of these topics. It was like, what's our history, and then so everyone gets to chime in, and then we'll move on to the next question.
Okay.
Sure.
So my history with Monster Hunter is that I started on the original Monster Hunter on PS2. My friend was a beta tester for the US on his original PlayStation 2. And I don't know, it was through some magazine, PlayStation magazine or something like that. He got a beta disc. And he was ranting and raving about how great the game was. And I was resisting because it looked like stupid anime to me. Giant big swords, that kind of stuff. And I was just like, that's not interesting. That's just not. But I gave in, and I spent all of my Christmas money in 2004 to buy it and a network adapter. I got to play one match online, and I was hooked. And then I had to go on vacation to Georgia. So that's kind of how I got into it. Over the years, I have played every game that has come out in the U.S., as well as imported a few, including Monster Hunter Double Cross that I'm playing right now.
Very nice.
So I've been hard into the series ever since. I've been praying for U.S. releases ever since.
You and me both.
Yeah. So from there, I started, I didn't really get into the community until 2010, 2011, sort of the more online community of Monster Hunter, where eventually I found Reddit, and now I'm a moderator on the r/Monster Hunter subreddit. So there we go.
Yep.
So
Nice.
what's your history, JealousCrow?
Yeah, so I also started with Monster Hunter 1 on the PS2, the original Monster Hunter. It's kind of a fluke how I actually started playing it. I think it was like one of my younger brother's friends, and he's kind of like an interesting fellow. He's into like fighting now. I don't know why he was playing video games with us, but he just came over one day and just had this random game, and it was Monster Hunter, and I was like, okay, let's try this out. And I played it, and I ended up like just loving it. And I can still remember my first like rat loss hunt. And let's just say, like, I wasn't prepared for it. It was like one of those egg missions, and you had to, like, return an egg. And I was like, let's just see if I can take this rat loss down. And I did, like, after, like, a few tries.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Lots of bombs, lots of traps. And I think I went to, like, the last, like, 5 minutes. I had, like, 5 minutes remaining of the quest. But yeah, so since then, I've played every single US release. I've never dabbled in any of the Japanese releases, like Double Cross, or I guess Monster Hunter 2 is out for PS2, I think, in Japan, or maybe PS3, I'm not too sure.
PS2. I did not import that one.
Yeah, I never imported it, but I did watch like lots of videos and loved it. I loved like the PSP ones, played all of them. Played Try, I really like Try and 3 Ultimate. And now I played 4U and got into Generations, but didn't like Generations, and I was kind of upset at the end of Generations that I stopped playing 4U to like jump into Generations. But yeah, I'm stoked for World though.
Who isn't?
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Who isn't, right?
Yeah.
So my co-host, Wrath of Gog, what was your Monster Hunter history?
Okay, well, I started with Monster Hunter Tri. Basically, I was looking for a 3DS game to play, and I saw the Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. This was before I got my 3DS, and this is why I didn't play Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. I saw the Azure Rathalos with the dude with the big-ass sword, and I was like, man, that looks pretty damn awesome. So I went and I got Tri, tried that game out. It was actually really, really fun, except I had no idea what I was doing because I had no way to learn what I was doing. I was also 14, and this was before I'd ever gotten into the whole looking up how to do everything stage. And it was just me kind of exploring how to do it and trying to use the hammer because that was the only thing I could do. I hit a wall, which was Uragan, I think. And then I went to 3 Ultimate, and I made it much farther in that game. I got around late high rank in both the village and online on the 3DS, because I finally got the 3DS, and that was I was able to play it. Then I went and I played 4 Ultimate, and then I started Generations, where well, actually, we're going to talk about the subreddit later. So, I made it through Generations. It was the second game that I actually got to the end of the game. Granted, I've gotten to almost G rank in every single one of the games, and then for you, I actually got to the end of G rank. And then later I went back and I finished 3 Ultimate, and I got to the end of the G rank in that. And then I kind of have just been playing around ever since. Kind of fell off of it for a little bit, but I just today played some Monster Hunter again, which is kind of fun.
Nice. Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
VenfulTorture, where did you start?
Sure. And just to help, you can just refer to me as VT in the future. It's a lot shorter.
Vermont, that's where I'm from. Wow.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I started with Monster Hunter 1 back in 2005. I think it was August 9th at about like 8 in the morning. And I know this because, and you guys are going to laugh, because the first time I ever saw Monster Hunter was at band camp. My buddy that I was rooming with brought his PS2, and he was like, hey, you got to check this game out. And so he showed me what was Monster Hunter, and I was like, that looks incredible. It looks like so much fun. You suck at it right now, but I'll get it. We'll play together. It'll be great. And I asked him one question before I bought it. I was like, so I see you're using like a great sword, and there's like a hammer and sword and shield. Are there dual swords? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, awesome. I'm down. Absolutely. That got me in 100%. And so ever since then, I've just been playing pretty much every Monster Hunter that's come to the States, and a few imports. I actually imported Portable Third, and really enjoyed that one, since that was sort of like the last, I guess it was really like the last PSP title. And since I've kind of sort of a Sony fanboy, I've always stuck on the PlayStation consoles as much as possible. So I really enjoyed making that Monster Hunter last a little bit longer until we, obviously finally left and went to the Nintendo 3DS era. So I played all the ones on the PSP, the original, and then Portable Third, and then took kind of a hiatus when Tri came out. I was one of the salty ones left behind without a Wii. And I finally broke down. I played it a few times at my friend's Tri, and it was okay. It was fun, but I didn't have a lot of time to commit to it because I didn't have my own console, and I wasn't going to buy one just for one game until I went completely back-assward on that and bought my own 3DS just for Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, when I just had to play Monster Hunter again. It had been like a year or two break since I stopped playing, and I just had to play it. Yeah, it was driving me nuts. So I picked up the limited edition 4 Ultimate 3DS and played. Yeah,
the which was it, the Kushala?
Yeah, it's really sick looking. It's got kind of like a metallic finish and stuff to it. It looks really nice. And so I played that for a little while, and then I had a pretty good YouTube going with Portable Third, and so I wanted to do that with 4 Ultimate. I was like, oh, maybe I'll get back into this again. That'll be a lot of fun. So I sent it out to get hacked, my 3DS, so I could record, and it didn't come back for like 3 months.
I've heard about that, actually.
Yeah, and so like by the time it got back, like everyone had like left me in the dust. I mean, obviously, of course, whatever. And the community was just kind of like, I don't want to say dead, but it didn't fit my needs, I guess, to catch up. So I just stopped playing. And then Generations came out, and I played a lot of that. And now I'm just kind of on a break again until World, anxiously holding on to my seat until it comes back to my beloved PlayStation.
Oh, it's gonna be so nice.
Alrighty, so for the second question, we'd like to answer what is our top 3 monsters, and kind of go into a little bit of detail as to why. So for me, number 1, and it always will be, is Diablos. It's really cool design. I love the roar, the sort of scream roar that it sort of does. And it all stemmed from the Dual Horns quest. 4 horns, I should say.
Oh, having flashbacks.
Yeah, so original Monster Hunter 4 horns was the urgent to get into the final 6-star quests.
Yeah.
6? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was an urgent that I needed to do, and I would go online and I'd hunt with everybody, and I'd be like, okay, can we do my 4 horns? And everyone would drop. Like it was just
Yeah.
like
All the cards.
no one. Well, no, they would just drop from the room. They would leave. No one wanted to do it. So I would then, I would be like, okay, well, I really want to fight Diablos, and then like I just sort of learned how to fight him so that you could fight him offline eventually, and I just learned how to fight him really well. And in those days, 4 horns was like you needed 4 people. Everyone had to be carrying sonic bombs.
It was almost an impossible quest.
Yeah, it was tough.
Right. So I finally did get it done, and I felt so achieved, and I felt so grateful for the 3 random hunters that helped me out. I finished, and we did all four of us did our urgents. Just stuck around, helped each other out, and it's probably one of my better Monster Hunter memories. And I just like Diablos, and when I figured out he was an herbivore, that made him so much cooler in my opinion.
Yeah,
because it's just it's amazing to see such a intimidating figure, and it's like, no, I eat cactus. My number 2 is Ignactor. I'm huge on monster ecology. I love the idea of these things and how they live and that kind of stuff. And the fact that he cannot ignite his own flame. He just has to clack his teeth, and he does that clacking. And then when he finally does, he can't control it. So he's like a fire hose, and he whips his head around, and and he finally like rests into control and just sort of just like forces that beam across the way. It's just, I've always felt that it is just a purely cool design, and the fact that his like lava armor cools off and becomes hard, and then when he goes underground it gets soft. And it's just like all the ideas that Ignactor was. And then I kind of flip-flop on my third one a lot, but I think I am going to settle on Kieran just because I like Kieran.
What the hell is wrong with you? No offense.
I like it. Kieran, I love mythology. I love mythological creatures, and Kieran is the only one that exists outside of Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's from Japan, correct? It
is a mythological creature in Japanese lore.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I guess it's not
So do
surprising.
you
It's a Japanese game, but
Yeah. Do you actually like fighting Kieran then? Or you just like the idea of Kieran?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I like both. I like every monster. That's something I say every time, and no one believes me, but I do. I like I'll say this. I like every boss monster.
Okay.
Screw Vespoids.
I was going to say,
Vespoids.
that was my thing. I was like, really? Vespoids? Do you, though?
and Abstros,
Yeah,
which have no
Bullfangos.
purpose in life. Except for in Monster Hunter World, where there'll be like walls for me to watch get destroyed, which is fine.
I don't know.
Raw meat, man. You could use them for anything.
I have billions of raw meat, man. It's like half of my inventory. Or, I mean, half of my item box. Besides honey.
Yeah, it's all about the honey.
Well, you got to stock up on that honey when you can.
I do.
Yeah.
That honey's like in-game currency. Like you can trade honey for like other stuff.
Some guy, I'm pretty sure that's actually happened to me before. I'm pretty sure some dude actually was like, "Do you need honey?" And then he was like, can we do this quest if I give you this honey? I was like, no.
Yeah.
That sounds like the start of a CSI show, but go on.
Well, that's my top 3. What about you, JealousCrow?
Yeah, so definitely the same for the first one. I think Diablos is probably my favorite monster
Yes.
of all the Monster Hunter monsters. I just think he's like the hardest battle. Like I think like compared to every monster, he's like the most high intensity and like the most people like will die to him. They'll just like get caught off guard, they'll just die. And I've killed so many Diablos in my like Monster Hunter career. I just love him. You went through a lot of the points, just like the herbivore thing, and like tons of reasons why. It definitely like one of the harder quests, like the Four Horns. It's just like I think that just like kind of makes you remember him. You just never forget.
It's just pasted into your
He also
brain.
had the old one, the old one horn.
Oh yeah.
That was like literally the hardest Diablos ever.
Yeah.
Devil Blows is what we called him.
The Devil Bluffs. Yeah.
Devil Blows. Yeah, before like the actual Devil Blows that we saw in what is it,
Double
Double
Cross.
Cross?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frontier? Are you talking about? Because there's an actual volcanic one in Frontier.
He's got like rockets
no,
coming out of his horns. It's crazy.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
talking about that one.
Oh,
I'm talking
yeah.
like, are you talking about the
The
one from
Deviant.
Unite? The one horn from Unite?
Yeah, he was in Unite.
Yeah, that was
I think he started in Freedom 2, though.
he might have been.
He might have been I think he was a carryover.
Those two blend Freedom 2 and Unite are just an extension, obviously. But yeah, I remember him very vividly destroying me with all of my confidence going in there, thinking, "Oh, I've got this. He's just a devil. He's just a blows. I can handle it." No, I couldn't. I died so fast.
Such a great fight though. I find he's just like the most entertaining fight. Like some of the fights kind of get like routine, whereas I feel like he always keeps you on your toes.
So what was the difference between him and Diablos besides him like just hitting harder?
I'm pretty sure he was always enraged. Like as soon as you got in, he just charged you down. You're like, "Well, okay, I died once, great, and we go back at this again."
He was always enraged, and he had like triple health or something like that. Like
It
it
was-
was, and he did double damage. It was just like he was just amped up.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they brought him back for World. It was like he wasn't in Generations at all, which really like bummed me out. But
Yeah.
they brought him back for Double
He
Cross,
isn't-
which I guess is like the
Yeah,
expansion.
he's in Double Cross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah, going for
haven't fought him yet, but
going for my second favorite monster, I'd probably say Crimson Fatalis.
Nice.
Yeah, Crimson Fatalis is like just a great fight. I have like vivid memories of like me soloing Crimson Fatalis on like a PSP with like the Eternal Schisms, just like trying to spam the dragon damage as much as I can. Just like very vivid memories. Trying to get my
he did
younger
it with
brother
the
to
popcorn gun lance.
Yeah.
what? Popcorn gun lance.
That's my favorite.
Yes,
Nice.
Isn't it just called the popper?
something like that.
I forget. Yeah, I forget what it's called. But like, I mean, if anyone's fought Crimson Fatalis, you know why he's a great monster to fight.
He's badass. Yeah.
He's just so
Really is.
cool.
Also, sounds like an eagle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
He was also like doable. Like you could actually solo him. Like I remember like
That's-
you could solo like everything. I assume, except for maybe some like high rank G stuff if you don't have like that G rank equipment already. But he was a
Yeah,
good
that's kind of what I was thinking too. When you like of the three Fatalises, like black is I mean, depending on what game you're talking about, black's pretty straightforward.
It's
White's really
classic.
difficult, but
Yeah.
like Crimson was like that nice in between where it seemed really difficult at first, but once you figured him out, it was
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
okay, you just got to know where to stand, know when to walk away. It's all right. He's not really that cheap.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Compared to the black Fatalis, just like one shot. See if he steps on you. Sometimes you're just like what?
Yeah.
And for
I
the
heard his
third,
tail
like
is horrible.
oh yeah, it was. If you played the original Monster Hunter, like did anyone actually blade mastered him? I don't think so. It's like
I saw one guy do it once.
you get like all the way to HR like
I
think it was like 20, right? Like 20 was max in the first
Yeah.
one. You get all the way to HR
Yes.
20 using like a great sword or a lance because lance are OP. And then to fight like the last monster in the game, you have to build a bow gun, like and just
Oh.
cluster shot him to death.
I remember trying to get to my first Fatalis and doing so many after that. Yeah, it was terrifying. And then I was so disappointed when they brought him into the later series, like in Unite and stuff, when I finally got back to fighting him again, or Freedom 2.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, he isn't as crazy, like insanely difficult as I remember. Maybe I was just making it up. But
I think
looking
they definitely made
back
him
at videos,
overpowered.
yeah, in Monster Hunter 1 he was insane.
Yeah. But
Alrighty.
for the third monster, I'm not too sure. It's kind of hard to really choose. I mean, I like the Laoshan lungs. They're classic.
Mhm.
I was gonna say Kieran, but now I kind of like don't want to say Kieran. I want to be like different, but
I mean, you already duplicated
Just say whatever it
Diablos.
is.
yeah. Ah, man.
You don't have to be different.
I was gonna say Kieran, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. There it is. It's Kieran. I actually like
Okay.
when you were saying you like fighting Kieran. I actually don't like fighting Kieran, especially because like
Okay.
if you're using any sort of like if you're using like a lance or like a sword and shield, you're just gonna get wrecked by your teammates like all the time. It's just too small of
Yeah.
a monster. But I do
Yeah,
like
that's-
Yeah.
I like the idea of Kieran. I think it's a really cool fight, but it's not that fun.
Oh, I think hitting Kieran in the horn and knocking him down, I
Oh,
think is
yeah.
one of the more satisfying knockdowns you can do.
Oh yeah, it goes flying.
Because
Like,
Yeah, well, that and it's such a heavy critical.
Yeah.
You could feel it.
Yeah.
And like then you're like able to narrowly dodge out of the way. I just think it's a fun fight because it's so like hair's edge.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
And even in the newer games it's that way.
so
I get-
I think he's a fun fight to an extent. Depends on the weapon you're using.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I think that a lot of his moves, just because it's like he does a ton of attacks and then he stops and then you just kind of smack him 2 times and then he does a lot of attacks and then he stops and then you smack him a few times. It's just kind
Yeah,
of
that's my issue as well.
it feels
So
like
you watch him run around.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It feels like you are doing one of the large elders where you're just on rails and you're just waiting for phases. Is literally what it feels like.
Mhm.
It's just
He
very...
was classified as an Elder Dragon, I think, in the original.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
He
he
still
still
is.
is, but like
he still
I
is,
meant
okay.
I meant like Jin Moran, where you just kind of hang out until he does a certain thing, and then you attack, and then you wait, and then you attack.
Yeah.
He definitely mixes it up. But any monster has an opening.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
just has a more pronounced opening, I would say.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't have any
Um,
openings in between.
No.
He usually turns immediately
the-
and does another attack. He does like a string of 3 charges in some way.
He's an angered Kelby. I mean, that's what the angered
He's a Kelby
Kelbies
drone.
do.
Yeah, he's a Kelpie
The
drone.
Kelpie Drone.
No, the issue I have with Kieran is that he walks past you kind of nonchalantly, bumps you down, and half your health is gone, and you're like, "What happened?"
It's the swagger.
Yeah.
It's like Chameleos' walk.
Yeah.
Mm.
The
Just
like
less-
the
less
Michael
derpy,
Jackson. He does the, like the little thriller movement and he charges forward.
So, Wrath of Gog, what are your top 3 monsters?
Okay, well, this is gonna be a surprise to you, Fortuan, because I'm actually overall just because of playing Generations, it's kind of changed. Like I base it mostly off of gameplay and just off of just kind of things that I really like.
Sure.
I'm gonna start with my third because I'm not sure about my first. My third is definitely Chameleos now, and
Nice.
Okay.
the reason is I had been fighting him a fair amount, like a month or 2 ago. I really wanted to make. I think I wanted to make his greatsword because it's basically invisible, and I thought that was cool. And long story short, I beat him, and I finally watched the full cutscene of his death, where he stands up, and then his tongue just goes, "What?" and then he falls over. And I literally laughed my butt off when I saw that. I could not believe that that was a thing that I just had never seen after playing through, 4 Ultimate. And after that, I kind of started to, just from fighting him, I started to appreciate his attacks and his moveset and how he's actually a really well-designed monster, in my opinion. Just the way that,
He's-
he has a lot of moves that are made to attack front and back, Like, he has a lot of moves that he can attack at all sides instead of turn towards the person, charge, turn towards the person, charge.
Mhm.
And not
Yeah,
just
he's a very different monster, which is kind of cool
Yeah.
in his
Yeah.
own way.
It's very, very unique.
Armor is also awesome,
Yes, definitely.
Sorcerer armor.
pretty much.
And yeah, I really liked fighting him, and it was just very fun to me for some reason. And
Very good for mixed sets, too.
he has a lot of high skill points. put into different things.
Hmm.
I can't remember what exactly he has though.
I don't remember, but I remember a lot of Athena's ASS
Yeah, he typically had at
stuff.
least in Unite and past ones he has like high grade earplugs and wind resistance are typically his two mainstays. But
Yeah,
recently they kind of changed that up a little bit.
They give him like status and stuff like that too, I think.
yeah, Forgotteners.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what he has.
Hmm.
Um, and then I think, hmm, I think my second would probably be Legia Cruz.
Okay.
I definitely also learned to appreciate him a lot more because I've been practicing the gun lance with guild style, or I had been. Again, this was like 2 months ago,
Yeah.
but I fought him a lot more, and he's one of the monsters with AOE or yeah, AOE attacks that you can actually guard without guard up, and
Yes.
it just feels really good to defend against him. It feels like I always feel in control when I'm fighting him, and especially in Generations, all of his new attacks that he was given were a huge improvement on his design. Um, and
On land.
yes,
Yeah,
um,
basically.
double. I really liked him in 3U when he was underwater, but that's because I played Gunlance, and that was like the only way you could fight him, or in my opinion. Um, and I really liked how they changed him, like how they made him with such a much more varied move set because, you know, his body shape for him being so large, there's not really that many physical moves that they could give him. So by giving him all these crazy AoE things, it just made him so much more fun. Especially the way that they used like a lot of Ivory's attacks, which is a monster that was very fun to fight. Um, and then I think my first monster is tied between two, and they're both subspecies. And this is because I was going back to 4U and I was practicing Charge Blade. Um, the Tiger Stripe Zamtrios and the Shrouded Narcilla.
Okay.
Those. Whoa, this is so random.
Yeah, so different.
Yeah, I know. I always had kind of a slight appreciation for them, but especially, I think maybe Shrouded might be a little bit higher up. And the reason is, um, and like this is purely because of like it's been updated over like doing this 2 months ago of just me playing a lot of Monster Hunter. Um,
Hmm.
and Shrouded Narcilla gave me a lot of like drive the first time I went through G rank way back when I first got into G rank in 4U. He was the first monster that I fought in G rank because the end of high rank I did online because I needed it to get through Dalamador because I had no idea how to fight him. And
Right.
uh, these guys were like, "Oh, you're new to G rank. What armor do you want to get?" I was like, "I don't know." And they're like, "You should get Shrouded Narcilla." So I went in with high rank armor and weapons, and I hadn't even fought Narcilla yet. I hadn't fought anything in G1. I was fighting something in G2 with these other guys. Um, and I run into the sand dunes going, huh, I haven't seen this thing before. And it like immediately in the entrance came up out of the ground and smashed into me with its pincers and killed me. And I was like,
Welcome to G
what
rank.
the hell?
Yeah, pretty
And I
much.
hated it. It was so stupid. Like, it was kind of a cool idea that he was, like, diving underground. And I was like, this is stupid. This is so boring. I don't want to do this anymore. But 2 months ago, I came back and I started making my way through G rank solo because I wanted to get good at Charge Blade, the 4U version that I never really played. Or I did, but I never played with guard points and the way that the MLG players use it. Um, or not Major League. I guess it's not really a Major League game, but uh, and I got trashed. But it was so fun to fight Shrouded for some reason. I love the idea. I love his animation of going underground, where he just slams his face into the ground and then just like rips at the ground and dives under. It was so cool to me.
Yeah.
Um, like there's so much movement involved with how it attacks. It's very cool. I also Zamtrios, Tiger Stripe Zamtrios scared the crap out of me. And he is so unique compared to the normal Zamtrios. The way he bounces back and forth between the two forms, it's so effortless, and it's so much better done to me than how Zamtrios is done.
Yeah,
Especially
he is
because,
a really.
sorry, what were you gonna say?
I'll say he is a really well-designed subspecies in the fact that he's very different from his original species. I
Yeah,
really like that
he could
about him,
definitely,
even though I
like-
hated fighting him.
He has the varying difference that, like, he has the level of difference that a deviant would get, which is cool, even though it's not classified the same way. And yeah, I liked that he was actually a threat when he was in his marshmallow mode. I never ever have felt threatened in such a way by him until I fought Tiger Stripe Zamtrios. Because he can do his double jump, he can do the thing where he just turns and does the water cannon, which was horrible because I think the armor I was using at the time was Tetsu X, so that was terrible against water.
Yeah, I was in the same scenario too, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good beginner set because it has that defense up in
Yep.
the G-Ring.
Yeah,
definitely.
honestly, for you, like, Tetsu's the way to go. Every time you start something, if you're solo, you need to use it until you get a better set.
Yeah, he's easy to kill, and yeah, it offers decent entry skills, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. But yeah, that's it. Sorry, I rambled on a little bit. But...
No, it's cool. Alrighty, so that's all of our monsters, and finally we're going to get into what our favorite weapons are.
What about my monsters?
Oh, I'm sorry. He talks so long.
I know, I did.
Yeah, you.
Nah, I'll run through them real quick. I already know what they are.
Nice.
Okay.
That's good.
Don't go too quick because it's hard for me to edit in noises between them. So.
Oh, yeah, right. You do that fancy stuff. That's cool. Barioth is my number one. And
Not a bad choice.
Yeah.
Not a bad choice.
you know, I feel like I betray myself every time I say that, and I'm looking at 3 Barioth stickers on my PC. Well, they're magnets on my PC right now, and I just have to go with him. One, his armor design is awesome,
Yes.
and even though he never had the best skills, in my opinion, I still liked using it. Constitution, whatever. But I fell in love with Narga as soon as I started fighting him, and the fact that they translated essentially that skeleton body type and some of the moveset over to like a prehistoric Arctic, just a sleek looking monster such as Barioth just makes me so happy.
Yeah.
He's so cool. He's so much fun to fight. He's not super difficult, so no one really has like a vendetta against him. So you can fight him as much as you want, which is kind of nice.
I mean, Tri-Barioth
Yeah.
is kind of a force to be reckoned with.
I don't think I ever reached him in Try. So
I'm pretty sure his combos were longer. They were like, they added certain idols that he would have after combos that he didn't have in Try, and in Try he just kind of continuously attacked you.
Oh,
You mean
okay.
you didn't have in 3U?
That's what I meant, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but he is definitely my number one, and his subspecies is also really cool, which had really decent weapons in Portable Third as well. So he's number one. My number two, which was my number one for a while, and people always think it's weird, is Keizu, actually. Okay, you got the little Google there. Yeah, and it's exactly what I get.
Well, actually, it's been kind of popular. So it's popular in Japan.
Well, yeah, hentai and stuff.
Well, not just that. But
No, I remember listening to one of your previous podcasts. You said in Japan, apparently he's kind of a cute monster.
yes. Yeah, he's considered
I just
cute.
love that weird leech neck thing that he has on his ass. But
No, that's not why.
okay.
But
Sorry, it's hard to tell
had-
with all the veiny, fleshy grossness on his body.
we did have an episode in the previous podcast where we talk about the Good Samaritan, and him and the other guest for that pod were both fans of Kazoo.
Okay.
So it's not as uncommon as you would think.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was ever since Monster Hunter 1, like I encountered him and I was cruising along pretty well once I got the flow of the game. But he's always kind of been like a stopping point for myself and like new people and stuff, it seems, because he's one of the first monsters you kind of has that high grade earplugs. And even if you get the earplugs early on, you're not going to have HGE. And so he just abuses his scream all the time. You really have to learn how to position yourself because it lasts so long and he reacts so fast after it that he's always been kind of a gate for me. And he was one of the first gates in Monster Hunter 1 that I bypassed on my own and actually found that even though I was going dual blades main, I had to switch weapons and really adapt to him. So he's always kind of represented like the ideology of Monster Hunter to me of, okay, you go in, it's not working. You have to plan a different way of attacking this guy, try a different weapon, go back, end up beating him, and just learn to adapt and evolve. So I really like, for some reason, he just kind of embodies that for me. So I really like him for that, in fact.
Okay. Cool.
And then my third, you'll like this, is Diablos. Yeah, for a lot of the same reasons you said earlier. But again, it stems back from Monster Hunter 1. That nostalgia kicks in every time of the four horns. And he was the biggest just difficulty that you could come up with in Monster Hunter 1 for most things. And he had such good weapons, great armor, a lot of fun to fight, but really difficult, and just a really well-designed monster that I think is one of the best ones, even that stands the test of time even still. He's unique and just so difficult still, just so difficult.
It's really funny to listen to you guys say this stuff because, again, I'm just to point out, I'm the odd one out that hasn't played Monster Hunter 1, which is the topic. So it's funny that Four Horns is the reason you like Diablos, and it's the thing that was in Monster Hunter 1 that hasn't been in.
Because I was locked on Four Horns for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks until I could find a group that would do it. And much like Fortuan said, no one wanted to do it. He was so difficult. And I mean, they have made him quite a bit more manageable. I wouldn't say easy, but manageable since Freedom past that.
I really want to see your guys' reaction to Massacre Demon Diablos. He's a treat.
Yeah,
he's
I
a
believe
completely
it.
different monster. It's very cool. I think a
that's
lot
in
of his
Double Cross.
I'll get there eventually.
Sorry, what?
That's in Double
I'll
Cross.
get there eventually.
Oh, you're gonna get there and you're gonna not want to be there. Well, he's honestly he's not bad until he gets into his like super angry Steam mode, and that's when it gets kind of scary. But that's why the last version is the hardest, because he's like in it. I think he's in it. Again, I haven't played this in a long time. I think he's in it the majority of the fight. I don't know if he actually starts like half health or something, but I think it's a little bit higher than he usually starts into that phase.
It's also really cool, and I forget when I learned this, but the Black Diablos, which is a more difficult version of the regular Diablos, is just a female Diablos in heat.
Yes.
Which, yeah, that ecology thing like started the whole. I didn't realize that the developers went into the background of monsters so much like that, and so when I found that out, I was like, oh, that's amazing. It also explains why it's so much more difficult to fight Black Diablos.
Yeah,
she's pissed.
I think it was like the
Trying to get her man.
Rathalos. The Rathalos
Yeah.
Rathian like connection to really stood out like in the original. It's just like, okay, like this is like an actual like ecosystem world. This is like, it's interesting.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
can't wait
Yep.
to see how they interact in the world. I'm wondering if they're gonna have any, like, I don't know. I don't want to say cute, but like just like interacting animations where
Oh yeah,
it's obvious that they're together.
That would be pretty
mated-
cool.
A mated pair or something.
yeah, like a
You
male
could see
female
like
pair
a
for every.
mated dance or something like that. That'd be cool.
Chicken dance.
I don't know what it would be, but yeah. All right, cool. So now we will get into the weapons.
We should point out
so-
this is definitely like as the intro podcast. This is going to be longer, and we should just accept that.
Yeah, that's fine. Although, don't worry about time. We'll figure it out. For my favorite weapon, I'm going to say Charge Blade. And as typical as that sounds or whatever, it's the fact that I was a hammer bro from Freedom 2 all the way to before you, and I got tired of not being able to cut tails. I've been a solo hunter for the majority of my hunts. I occasionally would fight with my brother, but basically by the time that 3U rolled around, I was pretty much on my own most of the time. And hammer by yourself is doable, and people do speed runs and that kind of stuff with it. But I'm a person who likes to do all of the breaks, and a tail not being cut off is something sad to me.
Yeah.
So,
It's one of the main attractions of Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's where all the
Cut
rarest
off.
drops are too, right? Getting the plates and rubies.
Yeah.
It's another chance at some of the rarest drops. Yes. So what I decided to do is I switched it up and I went to Sword and Shield, but it didn't click with me. I was taking very too much time on any quest I was doing. I almost timed out on a Gravius in low rank.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll happen.
And I was just like, this is just not clicking with me. So I saw a video from Gaijin Hunter about guard pointing, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this a try, and I'm going to start using the Charge Blade. And then eventually, when I started trying to guard point, I was doing it on Silverlos for the first time.
Just jump right in, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm not like some, most optimal player. It's something that I enjoy doing. I'd like guard pointing, and Generations I only play Charge Blade and I only play Adept Charge Blade just because I love the move set for it. I don't use the Adept Dodge so much. I more use the Adept Guard. And that's how I charge the files into the shield, because you can do that on the Adept block. And it's just, I don't know, it's just how I like to play. It's going to be a bit of an adjustment for me getting in the world, but it's a bridge to cross here in January, not today.
Yeah, exactly. I'm curious what they're going to change for all the weapons. I've seen some of the videos. It looks like Switch Axe is a pretty cool thing where you can just like stab into the monster and you kind of just sit there hanging on and unload the charge into it.
I definitely suggest you check out Eric's Gaming's videos.
I've watched a
Yes.
lot of them, yeah.
Okay.
There's all kinds of new stuff. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the newest one, like the crafting and stuff like that.
It's basically what we know already. It's just another
okay.
video that he had some footage from Gamescom for.
Nice.
It's just, it's still really interesting though. It had a few things about combining that we didn't really notice, which was cool.
So, what is your favorite weapon, Jealous?
So I think my favorite weapon is kind of like fluctuated between each like game. So I think like the very first Monster Hunter, it was Lance. I mean, you couldn't really headlock with anything else, right? So
No, you couldn't.
the Lance was pretty much overpowered in the first one. And then I switched over to like a Sword and Shield with like the PSP versions. And then I kind of came into the same situation like you were saying. Like I remember, I forget what Sword and Shield I was using. It was like one of the ice ones, and it was against like a black Gravios. And I just kept timing out. Like it would just take so long to get through these quests like solo. So then I switched into Greatsword, and I loved Greatsword. Like I've been using Greatsword off and on forever. I'd have to say my top weapon is the Greatsword.
Nice.
Just after everything is like all said and done, like I just played through Generations, just basically Greatsword the whole way. For 4 Ultimate, I used the Insect Glaive because it was like the newest weapon. It's like I might as well try this out. Loved it, but I found it to be like overpowered. It's like the only
And for you, the Insect Glaive was pretty nuts.
yeah, it's like the only weapon that can like jump around and like constantly mount monsters, right? It was like ridiculous.
Also, its motion values were just through the roof.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I'd say Greatsword.
Sweet.
Nice.
Classic.
Oh
Nice.
yeah.
I'll say that I'm pretty, like, I'm definitely in a similar boat where I definitely jump around to different weapons.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I try them all, but
Yeah, but I'm mainly a hammer and gun lancer. But I definitely like charge blade, light bow gun, great sword, hunting horn, like everything's pretty up there except I hate the bow with a passion. For some reason, it's just
What?
never clicked with me.
what?
Oh man, bow's so much fun. I really enjoy
It has
it.
never ever clicked with me. I've tried it every single game. It's the only weapon that I just can't play. I have no idea why. I really want to be able to play it because I do think that it's a very interesting and mobile weapon.
It
I'm
just
definitely
it
gonna
fits
try
so
World
perfectly.
again, but we'll see. Um, but yeah, unlike Fortuan, I was a hammer main. Was a hammer main. Was a hammer main. Went into 4U. Saw the charge blade. I
Yeah.
actually did drop the hammer for that one game and used the charge blade. But then I jumped back on the hammer because I was fine with not cutting tails because I already got tails from using Gunlance. Um, so
Yeah.
I basically I want to say that it's definitely a close match between hammer and Gunlance. Um,
Okay.
both of the weapons are very strange in a sense. Hammer has a very limited, like, right in front of you moveset. Gunlance is notorious for just being bad, but I've always loved both of them, so it's just very funny.
Not bad, just I think slow. Like it's
Well,
slow
Gunlance
clear
is
Yeah.
actually
times.
just really weak. The
Yeah.
actual point of the Gunlance, which is the gun, is just very low in damage, especially near the end of the game. So it's just I play it like that anyway. I'll full burst and shell my way through every monster. I don't care because it's fun. I'll use the Wyvern Fire even if it's super weak, and I'll do whatever even if it's going to destroy my heat gauge. I don't really care. It's just fun.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's funny
Yeah.
because I'm a solo player, so making a quest a little bit harder by doing that usually extends it by 5 minutes compared to other people.
Yeah.
So it's funny that it's just like I enjoy Monster Hunter enough that that doesn't really matter to me. So it's funny.
Well, on a solo, you don't have to worry about shelling everyone around all over
Oh
the place
yeah,
too, which
oh
is
yeah,
kind of
full
Yeah,
nice.
burst all the
exactly.
way, man.
Yeah.
Especially Worlds, since I'll be able to reload every shell in that little flick after I do the horizontal swing, so I can just kind of keep going.
Oh, it looks like they have a pretty cool effect too, where you can just kind of like dislodge a shell into the
Yeah, the
monster, right? And
wyvern
just
stake looks
explodes like
sweet.
5 seconds later. Yeah, that looks great.
So my favorite weapon, yeah, I said it earlier, is hands down dual blades. I started with them in Monster Hunter One. I always use those in pretty much every other game if there's like an RPG or something.
Yeah.
Dual blades. Yeah, it's just what I roll with. But like I said earlier, against the Keizu, I had to learn to adapt and stuff, and so I kind of shifted between two weapons for my main. I mean, like all of us here, really, I play all of them. I get at least 100, 200 hunts on each weapon.
Wow.
But I really liked switching between dual blades and hammer because they're so different. One is fast, one can cut tails, one can, little ankle biters. They're fantastic. And hammer is just a big smack to the face.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
and what really got me into using hammer, I delved in it a little bit because in Monster Hunter 1, I actually found like I was mining and I got the rusted hammer early on and upgraded that a little bit, and I thought it was really amazing. It wasn't
Yeah.
until you maxed it out, but whatever. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But Yin Garuga in excuse me, Freedom 1 was a mess. I couldn't dual blade him, so I ended up hammering him to feed him, and it made it so much easier. And since then, anytime I'm having problems with the monster or with dual blades, I'll just switch over to hammer and then run that for a little while.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it was something that I didn't say, but I definitely should have. Hammer's very weird, like its hitboxes and stuff, the way it's positioned. But I
Hmm.
also think it is one of the most satisfying weapons to connect with. I don't know why. It
Oh,
just feels so
yeah.
weighted. Every
You
move,
get that golf swing,
yes,
just
every
it's
single move has
nice.
so much anticipation. Like it feels better than the greatsword somehow. It's very weird.
Hitting
I will
that.
say it's a very subjective point of view.
Hmm.
I'm sure that great sword mains feel that way about the great sword over the hammer. And
But you
I
still,
love the
it's
greatsword.
like it's funny because I like what they did in World. Like they definitely made the weapon like he kind of pulls it back more when he drops it down onto the ground in front of him, and it seems as though they kind of made it look like he has more force behind it. Like there's more movement in it because I think
Mhm.
one of the reasons, like, I really do like greatsword, but I think one of the reasons that I feel more impactful with a hammer is that it's large, and he uses his entire body to like swing forward with it.
Hmm.
Whereas greatsword, he kind of does that, but unless it's the full, like, the supercharge where he kind of like curls back more,
Yeah, yeah.
it
Hmm.
feels less like it looks as almost like, and this is fine, but it's like, when you use an axe and you have to drop it forward when you like chop wood. You drop it, and that's how you get that impact. And it kind
I
of
will.
feels like that
Uh,
almost. Like, you're not dropping it though. You're just kind of swinging it very slowly. And that was something that I didn't really like about how they positioned it. And that's a very subjective thing, like Fortuan said. So
was gonna say, I think like hammer and dual blades like are actually one of the harder like weapon types to actually like get good with, because
definitely.
you can't block. You have
Hmm.
to like unequip your weapon to like, use items. It's still like pretty difficult to like position and stuff.
Yeah, I
But I was gonna
think.
say,
Sorry.
sorry, I was gonna say, going back to the greatsword thing, I actually never charged my greatsword. I was a crit draw or punishing draw greatsword user.
Hmm.
So
I've always wanted to try that.
with like
That's always looked really
Punishing
yeah,
cool.
draw is a very satisfying thing to do.
yep, fast
Yeah.
sheathing with like the crit draw or punishing draw. If you get both, I think that like, it was really hard to do. I think I might have done it in try or 3 ultimate. It was really tough to
Hmm.
do, but oh my god, so satisfying.
Yeah, I made a few sets with that in Unite and Portable Third.
Yeah.
It
He
was
probably could have done
really
it for
useful.
you. I know they had tons of different stats that you could combine together.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think that does it for the introductions. The main topic of what we wanted to talk about today is I wanted to sort of get into what every generation of Monster Hunter was before Monster Hunter World. So there are a lot of new people who are going to be coming into Monster Hunter World.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't really want to go into tutorials and how to play and that kind of stuff because, I mean, A, the things are going to be different in Monster Hunter
Hmm.
World, at
Yeah.
least to a degree. And B, I mean, like, you're only a noob for so long, but what newer players did miss
Well,
is sort of the history of Monster Hunter. I mean, yeah, I was probably a noob for a good 5 years. So,
I think
Just-
everybody was.
yeah,
yeah.
there's a few times when I go back, I'm like, I'm still a noob.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. But so for the most part, I just sort of go on to give people an idea of like what was it like to play in Generation One. And I understand that GOG, you're sort of playing the outside person that didn't understand this kind of stuff when you
Well,
first got the
I
game.
can be the audience going, "What? Oh my gosh!" and talk for them. I'm like
Yeah.
Watson and like Sherlock Holmes.
So, just real quick, I'm going to sort of rattle off the monsters that were originally in Monster Hunter. And I'm not going to go into the small ones. Suffice it to say that instead of Banabra, we had Vespoids. They're just bugs. And there was Hornitars, which were crawling bugs. Which
little
we
springy
don't
dudes.
really
With great
Yeah, those
with
aren't
great
around
armor.
anymore, are they?
They were in
Nope.
Generations.
They're in Generations because they
Okay.
brought everything back. But yeah, as far as that, as soon as third generation hit, the Vespoid and the Hornitars were gone, replaced by Altaroth, which are the ants, and then
Banabra.
which
Banabra, yeah.
Banabra. Yeah. So I'm just going to go basically down the list they have here: Basarius, Cephadrome, Diablos, Gendrome, Gravius, Gypsurus, Iodrome, Kazoo, Monoblos, Plesiath, Rithalos, Rathian, Velocidrome, Yeonkutku, Fatalis, Kirin, and Leo Shenlong. 17 large monsters.
Wow.
That was all we had
Yeah.
back in
Yeah.
my day.
And only
actually
one
crazy.
less
You know
than
what?
try.
Yeah. And I put so recently someone on the Reddit r/Monster Hunter put up a post asking how many hours have people played, and
I
I
saw
really
that.
sat there and thought about it. I have easily put in over 2,500 hours into the original Monster Hunter because I had an over 1,000-hour save
Wow.
that I lost,
Mm.
and then I had a second save that was over 1,500
My goodness.
that I did finish.
Damn.
I put 1,000 hours into the original heavy bowgun. And then
Wow.
I went from bowgunner to greatsword user in the original Monster Hunter.
I'm surprised
So-
you were able to go back after you lost your 1,000-hour save, because that same thing like happened to me. I had a 1,200-hour save on Monster Hunter and lost it, and I couldn't go back. I mean, at that point, I think the servers were down too, but even still.
I took a break. It was probably a 4-month break, but I mean, I was in not early. I would say late high school. Not a lot of games were coming out for me then, so I just got back into it. And then, thankfully, I actually found a friend online. I don't know that person's name. I don't remember their screen name. But him and I played pretty much the entire time together. And I almost entirely ignored Village Quest aside to fight Monopolis. So on top of that, a lot of people are very familiar with a lot of the different weapons that came in, like the Charge Blade and the Insect Glaive, and even the Switch Axe is new. So in the original Monster Hunter, we had Sword and Shield, Dual Blades, which was only in North America and Europe. Japanese didn't get that till Monster Hunter G, which is our version of Freedom 1. And then Greatsword, Hammer, Lance, Light Bowgun, and Heavy Bowgun. So a lot less monsters, a lot less weapons, of course, a lot less armors. If you guys remember, armor didn't tell you what skill points they had. You just put them on, and then they magically had a skill.
I didn't even know skills existed until like HR 20. Just because I was always upgrading armor and like doing like mixed sets that didn't do anything for me. It was just, yeah.
I made the Diablo set, which did not include pants.
Yeah. Or waist, I think, right?
Yeah, it didn't include pants or waist. It was only the helm, the chest, and the arms.
Yep.
So if you mixed it with, what was it, Rathian or Rathalos? I can't remember. But it unlocked attack up large.
I think it was Rathlos.
Which was, yeah. So it was like, oh, okay. So it gets that. I think it originally had tremor resist and that kind of thing. Maybe windproof. I don't remember exactly. But it was a pretty decent set, but it was only 3 pieces. And then you had to put on another 2 pieces. So I just randomly put on the Vithal stuff and I got more skills. And I was like, oh, that's a thing. So like, I kind of treated it as combinations, like item combinations, more so than like a tallying of skills, because it wasn't apparent to the user at that point.
Yeah, it was all very behind the scenes back then.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't remember if Freedom showed you the skills or not, which technically still is Generation 1.
No, I don't think they showed until Freedom 2, and then it was like a complete overhaul of the whole thing.
Right. I will say that Freedom did add it. So I do plan on talking about the whole generation, not just Monster Hunter 1. Freedom did add a few new monsters, especially the subspecies, which is where we first saw them. So we saw the blue Yin Kutku. We saw Yin Garuga for the first time. And people questioned Rathalos and Rathian's relationships. Purple Gypsarus, Pink Rathian, Gold Rathian, Silver Rathalos, as well as Zurzur. We saw the Red Kazoo. We saw Black Gravius, White Monoblos, Black Diablos, Green Plesieth, and we saw Ash Leo Shun and Crimson Fatalis for the first time.
Yep.
Yeah, it was pretty much Yin Gurga was the only real new monster. Everything else was a reskin.
Yeah.
And the only things that didn't get reskins literally were Basarius, Cephadrome, and the Iodrome, Gendrome,
Yeah.
Velocidrome.
Cephadrome
Literally
gets
everything
no
else
respect.
got a color. It does not. I actually just recently showed Wrath of Gog a picture of me in my character in Double Cross on my Switch, and I have the Cephadrome Charge Blade. And he was complaining about Cephadrome then. And I was like, yeah, it's okay. I like it. Oh, Kieran didn't get a subspecies, I should notice.
When
When
did
did
Kieran
he
get?
get the ice subspecies?
I think for you, right?
Yeah,
It
for
was,
you
okay.
is when he got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Orochi.
The
Orochi.
black ice.
Yeah.
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 That Kieran looks
It
sweet.
did.
Yep.
Really cool.
It
It
does.
was like black with
It
bright
does.
blue glowing on it.
And red eyes again. Really
Yeah.
made him pop.
So basically, Monster Hunter, the original one, for the most part, was what we know and love today as far as gameplay goes. I have mentioned this a couple times in the previous podcasts where your attacks were tied to the right stick. If you guys remember.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a mess. You half the time you'd hit the wrong attack until you like really got used to it. I remember Hammer just like, well, I guess I'm charging now. Okay.
Yeah.
That was like I think you could actually hold R1 for that too then, but
Yeah.
it was just all over the place.
That's actually one of the
Yeah.
reasons I really liked Monster Hunter. It just felt so different. Like it felt almost like weighty a little bit. Like I know you're just pushing an analog stick, but it's just like no other game kind of had that combat. It just kind of intrigued me.
Yeah.
Back then, yeah.
The only game that I can think of, and it was a PC game, where you sort of controlled your movements through not just a button press, was Die by the Sword, if you guys ever heard about that.
No.
Doesn't sound familiar.
It's a third-person D&D-esque, like, works and that kind of stuff, except you did not swing your sword, you moved your mouse to swing your sword.
Oh,
So
jeez, that's carpal tunnel waiting to happen.
So it's like WASD with mouse look arm swinging.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, you can actually still get that game on Good Old Games, but it was the only thing I could think of that compared to it at the time. But yeah, the control screen was a bit off. You didn't even know what mining nodes and stuff were. It was literally a crack in the wall, and you had to just sort of know it was a mining spot because there wasn't any sort of indication that it was, just that your pickaxe worked there. I guess
Yeah, no, that's
you
true.
would see the pickaxe, and you had to have the pickaxe selected, and you had to actually use it.
Yeah, there was
couldn't
very little hand holding in first generation.
Yeah, it's true.
In Monster
Yeah.
Hunter 1.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very just let him go kind of thing. And they did throw a little bit of walls of text of you at you in the beginning, but not so much that you really
Yeah.
got to explain everything.
I think it was like 5 quests at the very beginning with the village elder, and one of them was like, here's how you gather something, here's how you combine, here's how you attack. Great, go kill this thing now.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
Go.
Oh,
Here's how
okay.
you- one of them was how you cook too.
Oh, yep, you had to cook that raw meat.
Do you,
That's
Yeah.
true.
do you think we'll get those in World again?
I hope not.
I mean, if
I honestly
anything,
hope not.
I think it's going to be like the demo where, it's like, oh, do this, this is how you do this. Hey, don't forget to do this. And then, just kind of
You're
very
free.
generic run through of
Yeah.
cook meat, try it. Oh, you lost. Okay, cool. And then,
I'm just
get
hoping
that
like the
timing
intro to
down.
the game
I don't-
isn't like 2 hours of my time, like cooking meat, grabbing blue mushrooms, and making potions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, in the beginning of Monster Hunter, they didn't hold your hand a lot. I remember being very lost on where to find unique mushrooms until there was a bit of lore attached to moose wine that a moose wine would go over to a just spot in a corner. And it wasn't even like there wasn't even mushrooms there. It was literally just there wasn't a mushroom texture. There wasn't a node for mushrooms like we have now. It was literally like, here's a spot on the ground where you can gather mushrooms.
Yeah, there were like a pair of them in like, what was it, area
Area
3 or something like that. 6
I think
maybe?
it was 6
Yeah.
at the bottom
Yeah,
of that
and
cliff.
they'd like, yeah, they'd go into like a little triangle formation. You're like, why do they keep stopping there? What's going on?
Oh my god, that's
Oh,
awesome.
hello.
Yeah, so you had to follow you basically had to go truffle hunting.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun figuring out stuff like that. I mean, that was really the theme of like the first of Monster Hunter 1 was really I mean, it was we were all like pioneering for the series. There was so much actually behind all the layers and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But we all had to figure it out because their guides didn't really exist back in that day for at least for a new series like that.
That's actually why I'm excited for World, because it's a simultaneous release, so we won't have tons of footage of people knowing exactly how to play the game yet. It's everyone, like, more or less, there's going to be a demo and all that, but there's still going to be a lot of stuff where we're all going to probably experience it for the first time, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people have already experienced it, though.
True.
Yeah, I'm jealous of like Eric's gaming, stuff like that. Those guys get the
people
demo.
more important than us.
Yeah.
He's a pretty cool guy. We had him on for an episode, so
Nice.
it was awesome.
Talks a mile a minute, but it was great. He actually talks like he's edited. Like it literally is very concise.
That's how he
just
sounds.
keeps it together, and he's able to include a lot of information in half a minute. It's very interesting.
Yep. Anyways, so there was a lot of just sort of like not helpful things in that game. Another thing is monsters were a lot tougher back then. The idea of soloing, I guess, was there, but
it really didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Non-plus
far less
mode anyway.
feasible. So if you think about it, the way I do, when they moved to PSP, they sort of realized that it would be kind of hard to play on your own, which might happen with PSP. So they bumped down the difficulty in online in quotation quests, but basically multiplayer quests. Multiplayer quests, I think, were immediately balanced for 4 people instead of 2 like they are now, I think, is how it goes. I'm not sure entirely the exact numbers. I'm not really a numbers guy, but I think I remember hearing somewhere that basically the balance is when you go online, they're assuming 2 to 3 maybe hunters for a quest. So that's sort of how the stats progress. In the original one, it was the full 4.
That sounds about right from what I remember. Because I mean, typically, even if it was the easiest of quests online, you know, you're hunting a Kutku or something like that for whatever. You typically would just wait for a 4th. Like it was just sort of how we played, I guess, back in the day.
That extra DPS cuts off like 2 to 5 minutes, maybe even like 10, depending on the quest.
It does, but it was also so much easier to play in large groups in Monster Hunter 1, simply because the way the guild hall and the online worked. So GOG, you're probably not aware of this either, but the rest of us remember that it wasn't set up like it is now. You didn't go into a 4-person room. You would pick a server and then pick like a lobby in that server, and that lobby could hold like 20 people. And so it was the online town of Mindgard. You go in and there could be 20 people in there, and then you just post, hey, I'm doing this quest, whoever wants to join up. And there could be multiple quests being posted at the same time, up to obviously 5. And so you could really easily, like, hey, I need this, and someone from a completely different group could be like, oh, I need that too, let me hop in for this time.
Yeah, well, that's
and you would just
how Try did it. So
well,
so
similar. Try had a limit of 4 per hub.
Yeah, but it was like you still had the cities and all that.
Yeah, no, you did. But the original Monster Hunter had 8, so you could literally have 2 groups going.
Oh, was it only 8? Okay.
Yeah, it was only 8 for the room. Now, what you're talking about is right after you pick the server. So you'd be like green, I remember, is one of them.
Yeah, they were color coordinated.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
It's been a few years.
And then inside of green, there was like 20 different 20-person sections, which were like the city or town or whatever. So the mine guard and all this other kind of stuff. I remember I always picked green. I always picked like room 16, and then there would be 8 people per room. So it was, you had like an 8 max per room. So I ended up just going there and playing with friends. And it was very true of when you were going on a quest, it was dangerous to be going without 4. You guys were skirting the line if you were.
Yeah, I remember just going as 3. It's like, do you think we're gonna make it?
Yeah.
I don't know how much time we have left.
Can we do this? Like question mark? Like people are asking. Like.
I know I had my
Yeah.
keyboard strung across my lap, and my
So did I.
controller and
Oh, yeah.
wires going everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that keyboard. I remember hooking up a keyboard to a console. It was like a foreign idea still
What?
today.
Yep.
I had
Yeah.
to
USB.
take my keyboard from my computer and share it. And whenever, like, I was playing Monster Hunter, my brother couldn't use the computer
Because
because
it's
I
like
had
you
the
had to
keyboard.
chat. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all text.
No
That's
headsets.
awesome.
There wasn't any like in-game interface to do it. I don't think you just had to have a keyboard.
That's
I
sweet.
think.
Yeah,
I think they're kind
it worked. I mean, it worked well enough.
Yeah. I
Yep.
think they're going back to sort of that like more than 4 people per like village hub.
Yeah, it'll be
For
16.
worlds,
I
right?
heard.
S-
Yeah.
16, nice. That's so you can have like 4 different groups kind of going on at the same time.
Yep.
I like that.
It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention about the original Monster Hunters is that far more than any other generation, the offline and the online were very much segregated.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't segregated. I mean, they've always been sort of segregated. You had the village slash the guild quest is what they call them now. But I don't think that's going to be happening in World. I've heard stuff that's not happening. That it's all just one quest line, and whether it's online or not, which is cool.
Yeah, seen that too.
I wonder how that's going to work though.
You just
Hey,
It's
the
just
quest players
that.
count as both. It's just the same quest online. You
Oh,
can
okay.
Well, there-
do it
I mean, there
online,
is no-
offline, probably.
yeah, you just treat online as offline.
But does it just
You just don't
automatically
go online.
balance? Like it knows you're not online. Like will it have like dynamic
yeah.
balancing? Like if there's 2 people on a quest, will it auto adjust versus like 1 or 4?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be some sort of
Or it's all
kinds
static.
of capabilities now. Right.
I mean, I could see it being an all static, just like this is how hard this is, and if you're good enough, you can do it. If you're not, you can't.
I could
I
see
could
that.
see that
Yeah, I
happening,
could definitely
too.
see that.
I'd rather have it that way, to be a little honest with you.
Mhm.
Yeah, but scaling difficulty isn't a new thing either. I mean,
No,
the Souls series has been doing that since Demon Souls.
Yep.
Dynamic scaling. So, it's not a new concept, even from Capcom, I would think.
Yeah, but Capcom's
Um,
Capcom, so.
Yeah.
Capcom
Well-
is Capcom.
That is a true statement.
Fact.
Yeah. I just mean that Capcom is notorious for.
Leaving us Sony PlayStation users to dry. Oh, sorry.
Well,
Go on.
Well, not just that. They're known for not doing what. Well, maybe.
Yeah, they
not
don't make
what
the most
people
sense
think
business
they
we.
would do.
Mhm.
Like I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
they don't
I
take-
wouldn't like if this was a stock thing. I would not put money in their stocks because I'm not sure where they're going. But like not in money, like they're doing fine. But if it was stock on
Like not
like
literally.
betting on what they were going to do next, you would just go bankrupt. You would never win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
aside
back-
from a new Monster Hunter game every time.
That's
yeah, yeah.
Right.
They've been pretty good with their
Yeah, back
Monster
to
Hunter
that-
stuff. Like their DLCs are always like free,
Mhm.
which is nice.
They said they'll keep doing that.
Yep.
They'll still have
Yeah,
free
it's-
DLCs. I'm curious whether they're still going to have a paid DLC. They probably will, but they're definitely still going to
I'd
have
buy
their
it.
routine of paid, free DLCs.
If it's paid DLC, it'd have to be like quite substantial.
Yeah, well, that's actually something that's funny. A lot of people were discussing whether, they'd have their free DLC, like the normal thing, every month you get something. But then, at some point, instead of selling a new Monster Hunter game, they might just make the G-Rank expansion, if they even do one, as a DLC. Like adding another map and more monsters and G-Rank.
Do we know if G rank is in world? I don't think any of that's been confirmed.
They
or-
said,
It's not been
It's-
confirmed here or there.
yeah. They said there's definitely going to be a low rank, high rank kind of difference in like skill, like difficulty, but I
Okay.
don't think they said anything about G rank. So a lot
This'll
of
be
people are
interesting.
assuming that they're not going to have it.
hmm
The first game also established some sort of trope of levels, I would say. So we have our forest, so the forest and hills, which is a classic map, and we've seen it in Generations. It's where we see Ostelos. It's where we see the central nest and that horrendous Area 9 that we used to have to fight people at.
Yeah.
I had never understood how they fit Rathalos in there. It was just
They must not have,
you
because when
could
he's
hardly
charging through, like his wings are like clipping through the level. Like who thought that was a good idea? Like,
Yeah.
Drake
it
King
doesn't
does the
really
same
work.
thing in Gem now. It's even worse.
Yeah.
Especially when
Yeah.
he does his teleport crawl, where he's stuck in the corner on one side, and then he literally slides against the wall in the tunnel, clips into the tunnel, slides all the way around the tunnel, and then hits you.
Well, and that's one thing that's changed a lot since Monster Hunter 1 is Rathalos. I mean, his movesets have completely changed, you know,
Yeah.
especially after Unite. It was just like I used to love hammering him, just bashing his face, and it was almost like the closest you can get to stun locking with the lance was like hammering Rathalos or something, because you just knock him out like every other golf swing, it seemed. And I went in with a hammer into portable third, thinking I could do the same thing, and that did not happen.
Yeah.
He started flying all over the place and stuff. It was a mess.
You definitely need
So,
much more, like, roll to the left, roll to the right, dodging kind of stuff.
Yeah. The original Rathalos on that point and Rathian really had very little difference other than maybe a couple moves.
Yeah, it was
So
pretty much just what
Rathian-
they did in the air was the only really differences they had.
Yeah, Rathian had the backflip. They both would go up and fireball once. Rathalos would do it 3 times, more often. But they only had slight difference in movesets. And here's the crazy thing. Kutku and Gypsarus all acted the same way. They all, except for Gypsarus, would do that sort of triangle run to 3 corners and then come at you. He was the only one that did that. But they all were clumsy. Like when a monster is tired and it charges and falls on its chest and slides, they all did that all the time.
That was just the normal thing they
Yeah,
did.
it was
Yes.
just all the same. They all,
Yeah.
all face planted and slid for a while and
That's so
hurt
funny.
you if
Yep.
you got even close during that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they all felt sort of clumsy and clunky and that kind of stuff. You would see these really stiff movements when they're turning. It looks so awkward.
Yeah, I can't even imagine going back to it now.
I tried to go back like a few months ago or something like that to Monster Hunter 1, and it was so difficult simply for the hitboxes alone that it was just like, wow, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Yeah, those wings would hit you no matter what. Like you could not. There's no such thing as going under the wing. The wing was part of the hitbox.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
The monster was a giant square. You were a slightly smaller square.
I remember
It was, yeah.
I remember wind being more of a thing in the first Monster Hunter as well. I don't really find like wind resistance to be like that good of a skill, but I remember in Monster Hunter 1 for some reason, like you wanted
I
it.
bet that's hitbox stuff. Just the same.
Yeah,
Oh,
I bet the
okay.
hitbox
I
is
wouldn't be
just huge.
surprised if, like, was there still the super armor thing with different moves in Monster Hunter 1?
What do you mean by
I
that?
don't think.
So, super armor is when, like, a greatsword, when you release its triple charge move, you are in what is called super armor.
Oh,
Where you
yeah,
are
yeah.
hit
So you're not
with-
affected by it.
Yeah, you're hit with lighter moves, like tripping moves, they won't affect you.
Yeah.
The draw slash of the sword and shield is super armored. The gun lance forward slam has super armor. The
Yeah, I don't think any of that really existed
I
in
don't- yeah, I don't-
Monster 1, except for maybe during the charge up of the hammer. That might have actually been resistant to wind, but I don't remember.
I can't recall either. I do remember wind being an issue, so I want to say like no.
Yeah. Well, and you have to refresh
Yeah.
my memory because I didn't greatsword a whole lot, but I don't think it was just a single greatsword charge, or was there a charge at all for
There was
greatsword
no
back in the
charge.
day?
there was
There
no charge.
was no charge.
There was no
Yeah,
charge
that's what I
in
That
the
is
thought.
one
original
thing I
Monster
know.
Hunter. Yeah. That's why I like the crit draw. Brings me back to my roots.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah,
Nice.
hit and run was a thing.
Hit, roll, sheath.
Yeah.
You didn't even have the slap, did you?
Only if I hit
No.
the head.
No.
Yeah, because there was no
Oh,
KO
sorry, yeah, in
damage,
Monster Hunter
right?
1.
Yeah. No
there was
side slap.
No,
There was
no
no
side
side
slap.
slap.
It was pretty much just forward to the side.
and the uppercut.
up and back.
Upswing.
Because
Yep.
KO wasn't,
Yep.
or exhaust wasn't a thing, or both.
I think
Exhaust wasn't a thing until third generation.
KO
Yeah.
did exist though.
KO did exist.
Yep.
KO existed only on the hammer, I want to say.
I don't think. Yeah, did Sword and
Yeah.
Shield even have the shield bash in first?
No.
No, it didn't
Yeah.
have the shield bash.
That wasn't added
so,
till 4U.
Yeah,
don't
just the
think-
hammer had it, which made it kind of a really unique and cool weapon to use. Really useful, I should say.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was just hammer. And then hunting horn when it came in second generation.
Mhm.
I don't think anything else ever did KO damage until third generation when they started mixing it up.
Mhm.
So like there was a lot of sort of things fit into their box in the older games. As you can see, like hammer was the only thing KO'd and that kind of thing. There was, as I mentioned in that list of monsters, there was almost zero variety of monster types.
Mhm.
So you had
Mhm.
flying wyverns, piscine wyverns, and bird wyverns. And 2 elder dragons?
Mhm.
3, technically.
3 Elder Dragons, Lao, Fatalis, and technically Kieran.
Kieran, yeah.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about that was that Kieran was only an event monster, if I recall correctly.
Yes, it was a rotating event.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
It was very rare.
it was the equivalent of having Kieran as being one of the monthly DLCs, except if the monthly DLC was only there for that month. And they
Yeah.
rotated out about, I don't know, Kieran would be there about, once a month, right? I mean, for a week.
Mhm.
So every 4 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was on like a 5-week rotation, actually. But there were
Yeah.
2 Kieran quests, and so they kind of... There was one in the jungle
And one in the swamp.
One in the swamp, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would cycle those in. So it happened pretty often enough at
Oh,
least.
I
But
forgot about the
typically
jungle.
but typically during those weeks, like you go into a hub and you couldn't do anything but Kieran. Like that's all people wanted to do because they had limited time to do him.
Right. Well, it made some good stuff. It was
Yeah.
some of the strongest lightning element weapons you could get. Some weapons, it was the only option for lightning, I think. Because not everything gets a kazoo weapon.
That was
Yeah, they
that was
were
the one
pretty
thing with
good.
like the original Monster Hunter. It was like you have like one water monster. It was Plesioth. You use Plesioth to beat like Gravios, and you can use like Gravios to beat like Kizu. It was like there's only like one counter. There wasn't like a lot of room for customization.
Yeah, no, it was pretty straightforward. You saw a lot of repetition with what people were using. I mean,
Yeah.
that brings up the topic of Black Dragon Spear, of course, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Just
it was,
that's, like,
it was
the
everything
weapon.
was pretty cut and dry. Oh, it was insane. It was so broken.
Oh yeah. Well, I think
There was
I listened to someone. I don't know if it was like the makers of Monster Hunter, but like the actual damage numbers on the lance weapon as a class were broken. They just did way too much damage, like all the lances, not even just Black Dragon Spear.
And that's why we had headlocking.
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
So headlocking. I'm guessing what it was. I'm assuming it was the head's flinch like amount was low enough, or it was a certain amount that the lance could keep stabbing it and it would continue to stagger. Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
Stab,
Yep.
stab, dodge. Stab, 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 dodge. Flinch. Repeat.
Yeah. And
Endlessly.
you could also do it with I think it was like the Blue Ogre Spear. It was one of the bone. It was the highest bone spear if you popped either like a Mega Demon Drug or something. You could do it with that one, but it was like a 3-hit headlock.
Yeah. Yeah, there were all kinds of. It was so funny watching different people at headlock because my brother and I were figuring out too how to do it because you had to learn it a little bit. It did take a little bit of skill at least.
Yeah,
It wasn't.
no, you had to learn it, and you had to enter the room in a certain because of the way the pin
You had to-
was. You had to enter either like first or like
Yep.
last or something. I forget how it worked.
Typically
the
you had to enter
Lancer had to be
first.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that was always really funny. I was trying to coordinate that with
People who didn't know.
keyboard. Yeah, and there was always always a little bit of lag back in the day too. So it was just like
Yeah.
everybody waits, make sure he's through, and then you run in.
Yeah.
And no one used flash bombs. It's just like that'll mess it all up.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say one thing about the keyboard. At least you could use a keyboard and not the 3DS's tiny little
Oh my
insensitive
God, yeah.
screen.
I know, right?
Yeah, it worked just
Yeah.
fine.
Like, hey, do you want to hunt Ucanlos? Came out as like, how do you do Ucanlos? And then that was it. Like all one word because you couldn't hit the space bar because you hit another letter. It
Yeah,
was horrible.
I still get that. Like even with like my cell phone, like just trying to type, it's just like hitting like a B or
I
something.
mean, we definitely shorthanded out of time though, because it was real time.
Yeah, and I mean, when you were typing, you weren't playing like the monster was on you, you know,
Go
or
stand in the
something.
corner so I
Vespoid
can-
paralyzed
yeah.
you.
PL8, PL8, PL8.
Dude, yes, exactly. No plate. Damn it. All right, everybody die.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
That
I
was
mean, they
a-
made
suicide
plate runs
runs were a thing.
super well.
Well, not just plate runs. There was suicide mining was the thing too,
What?
because no one.
Oh, I never
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
that.
Oh, I did that.
Sounds
So
really weird and fun.
Because the
because
volcano
there
took so long.
was, so there was like there was a high rank that you could get into in the original one. And when you got into high rank, it wasn't that you immediately got Dragonite ore. It's that Malachite ore became the equivalent of iron ore in rarity. Then Dragon ore became the rare ore, but an even rarer one was there called Firestones. And Firestones could only be gotten in the volcano, and they were so rare and so hard to find. And you could only carry so many pickaxes because golden pickaxes weren't a thing. You just had iron and old, which would
And they-
break. You could.
They broke twice as frequently, I feel, back in the
I
those
know,
days.
right?
I'm not sure about how often they broke versus nowadays. I feel that they don't break as often nowadays. Honestly,
It might be the same. It's just like how you remember it.
Yeah,
It probably is, honestly.
but you would run out and you'd be screwed. That's why the rusted weapons were such a big deal.
Yep.
Because they were so rare, and to get a good one, an actual rusted one, instead of something like another iron lance that you would get, or another iron greatsword. There was a lot of just like rarity was an issue. So the whole reason why headlocking became popular is because plate runs were needed to get plates, and plates were like an abysmal drop rate.
Yeah, it was like
And we're talking
1%, and there was no reward. Now there's like a reward when you break the head.
Yes, yeah. The
That didn't
reward
exist.
was all just scales and hides. It wasn't.
Yeah.
There was no break rewards. There was no chance for plates and rewards. So there was no incentive to finish the quest unless you lost your items. So if you abandoned, if you abandoned, you'd lose your items. So what would happen is everyone would abandon just to make it quicker if they never got a plate. But you type in plate PL8 if you got a plate on
And
a
then everyone just
on
dies.
yeah, and then everyone just like, okay, let's just die now. Now my brother and I always try to enforce a variant where we actually just killed it then.
Honestly,
Because
like it
we
took like
could.
5 minutes if you had headlocks. If everyone had black dragon
Yeah.
spears at that point, like
Yeah.
Well, my brother was a headlocker, and I was just the great sword in the back cutting the tail.
Yep.
And the other people were just helping me cut the tail.
With the-
so we
the Eternal Annihilator. Did you have that great sword? I think that's what it was called.
You know that took 5 of each plate
Yep.
to make?
Yeah.
It was insane.
ridiculous.
I remember
Yeah.
getting that, and just like it took. That's how I got up to 1,200 hours, was because it took so long
Yeah.
just farming for that one weapon. And
same.
and the Fatalis armor set. You needed
Plates for every single armor.
plates for every single piece of armor. It was nuts.
yeah, it was Rathalos plates too.
Yeah, it was. And you
It
actually
looked
needed.
cool though.
It looked amazing, but
yeah.
I remember farming Lao Shan Lung for plates, and that was. There's no farming. You had to finish the quest.
Yeah.
And it took so long, and
Yeah.
it was a mess. I think, and again, you need like 5, but that one did have, at least I think I remember, because I had my brother help me with it once, because I wasn't a gunner back in Monster Hunter 1, but he would go in and you could, I think, break the shoulders on Lao to help improve your chances, or at least that's what we thought.
Oh man, people said a lot of things. I remember one time.
I remember you
Oogies.
couldn't jump on the back and carve because that would ruin your chance to get a plate, apparently.
Yeah, people were angry at that. I remember one guy. I don't know why I fell for it. It's like when I was first playing. He said you could cut the tail of Lao Shanlong. So,
Oh
so,
no.
so you could.
That was a rumor. Yes.
That was a rumor because one of the descriptions of the weapons was strong enough to cut Lao's tail, and it was just like,
Yes.
oh, so we can cut it. Yeah.
All that meant
But
was
yeah,
like
I
it carts. Everyone just loses the quest. Everyone's gonna die. Like,
Yeah, I tried
Oh.
specifically to cut off that tail.
that might have
thousands
been
of
me that
times.
told you that because I definitely remember spreading
Nice.
that around.
Well, yeah, because wasn't he just like a big walking hurt box? So his entire body just kind of hurt you as he moved on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like
You
Yeah,
had to
it
get
was-
into a cadence of hitting and rolling, sheathing,
Yeah.
running up and
Well,
hitting and rolling.
you could
and
knock him. You
sheathing.
could
Well,
knock him
the-
down too, hitting his like paws or his like his belly.
Yeah.
His paws. He's just a big cat.
Pretty much just a big dog with a long neck.
Yeah. Well, the scary thing about the tail back in Monster Hunter 1 is because the hitbox was so huge, you would get hit by it all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And the problem is it wouldn't kill you, it'd hit you, and it'd knock you forward enough
And you get hit
where you
again.
just get hit by it again,
you-
and you just keep...
You couldn't escape.
You just couldn't escape.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it
Yeah.
actually would be a problem because you had to go through 3 areas where you had to damage Lao before you got to the final area.
and you had to
before you could
run
actually
back
kill
and
him.
get out.
Right,
Yeah.
but with only 3 deaths, it's such a risk for dying with such a long quest.
Yep.
You didn't want that to happen, so...
Yeah, I remember it was like a harrowing experience to try to get out from in front of him to get back to the exit area, because you would have to run in and run towards the tail, time it exactly right, and Superman dodge it, and then
Yeah.
you weren't always guaranteed because the tail might still flick a little early and still get you
While you're lying on the ground, just like, come on, come on, come on, come on.
on the on the exit basically, and it was possible to sort of double Superman dive at that point. So you would run Superman dive, you get up, I'd Superman dive again,
Mm-hmm.
but it was rare that was even successful because you may get hit before you could actually even execute the Superman dive. It was just it was a lot of
I think the Superman
it-
the Superman dive was less forgiving in Monster Hunter 1. I think everything was less forgiving.
Well, the Superman dive, once you hit the ground, I think is when you are no longer invincible.
Yeah, and you took a while to get back up, and that's where it got scary when you were just lying
Yeah.
there, like
it was the
mashing.
getting back up. Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrifying. But I also remember, I mean, I went through the whole game again because the guides didn't really exist. Went through the whole Monster Hunter 1 not knowing that Farcasters existed until we were doing an event, Lao Shenlong, and there was a dude in full shinobi armor.
Nice.
And
Just ninja
we literally
out.
thought, like, he did, and we literally thought it was just a part of the armor set. We're like, shit, we have to get that armor set now. Like, that's the only way we can do this. It's amazing. And then it was just an item we could have made since, day one.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was just it was no quality of life on anything.
No, it was really made you work for it. It was nuts. Work for
But-
everything.
True Monster Hunter game with they make you work for everything.
Well,
It was
I'm going to
work.
say, but even though it was so hard to play and so hard to get into, it was still an amazing game that kindled the fire that I have for it that I'm
Oh, definitely.
still playing at 13 years later.
Well,
man,
and
that's
that's
awesome.
because Monster Hunters, it is, and that's
Same.
because Monster Hunters been, even though they've changed a lot of stuff. I mean, we've been through, we've seen all the changes, Fortuan and Crow.
Yep.
It's stuck to its general pattern or its original theory of the fun of this game is hunting these monsters and getting self-improving and then making the better armor and weapons to prove that you've come this far. It's really like a self-growth game. It's not so much like a reward in a lot of other ways, which is
Yeah.
kind of cool. So
It's one of the few franchises outside of like some of the major like Blizzard games that like I've really stuck to and like still play.
Yeah.
I mean, like you look at like Warcraft; those games are like so old, and they still like are popular. Like StarCraft 2 is still going on, and stuff like that. Diablo as well.
mhm.
I can't think
Yeah.
of many others like, but Monster Hunter just like sticks there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny how like Monster Hunter's developers, like you can tell that they're so invested into the game, like, the way that they have kept the core gameplay this whole time, you know, and like even going
Yeah,
into
they haven't
world,
changed their
even going into
formula.
the world, like everyone, this is a little bit of speculation, obviously, 'cause it's not out, but you know, they've discussed how, you know, they're trying to keep it Monster Hunter, even by adding all this stuff. Like, this was the game they've always wanted to make. This is what
Hmm.
their goal was to
Yes.
be. So, this is something that they've been trying to do this entire time, and this is something that they wanted Monster Hunter to be. It just seems like,
They couldn't do it through
how could they.
technology and
Yeah,
stuff.
like, it just seems like something that's like, they were thinking this far ahead and they cared this much about their game. Like, that's just something you
Hmm.
don't see with other games and consoles.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
Mario, oh, we have a new console. Okay, we're going to make the standard game, but we're going to add a little bit of things that complement the console it's on, the new things that were added to the console. And they kind of have this focus where they go again and again and again, and they have the same core gameplay, blah, 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 but it's still, you can tell it's just a filler. It's just there. There's not that heart and soul that you get from a development team that, you know, you can tell works their butts off trying to make the perfect Monster Hunter game. And
yeah.
Right.
it's amazing.
I'm just impressed they've stuck with the same formula for so long. Of they haven't really changed up, why you're farming or how you farm the monsters for parts and like that.
Honestly, it's because it's like
Well,
Monster Hunter is such a perfect game to me. I don't know. It's crazy.
They've got the right balance.
it's got like it's
I
a
mean,
perfect loop. Like it's like the perfect
Yeah.
gaming loop. Like,
It's
why
sad
do you
to
want
me
people
that
to
it's not
play?
Yeah.
popular in America because I think it is my favorite game genre.
Yeah, I
or
would say it's
game
up there. It's like my
series.
favorite
well,
series.
you've got so many other spin-offs and different games and stuff like that. Like, I mean, this steps a little bit to the side, but we were talking Destiny. We were playing Destiny 2 earlier. And there's so many different systems out there for loot that, Destiny uses like RNG, and so you're going to get the same crap over and over and over and over. The same thing is whatever you do doesn't feel rewarding, but Monster Hunter treats all their loot differently. All the loot you can use or that you get, you can use either for any part you want because there's so many different weapons and armor that you can never get enough. You can sell it for money, and the best thing about it is no matter all the parts you get, you choose what you make out
Yeah.
of it. So most
Right.
other games give you the weapon as a reward. You get parts as a reward, and then your
Sorry.
true reward is making exactly what you want. And I think that's where Monster Hunter really has succeeded, even since day one, is you get to make your own path forward with it, and it's sort of really RPG. That's like the heart of it to me, right there.
Going back to like why you kill the monsters, like the whole meaning. I feel like in Monster Hunter 1 it's kind of going back to like sort of like the no hand holding. I feel like Monster Hunter 1 had a more like almost like a horror vibe to it. It was like these monsters are like killing this poor little village and you have to go kill them. And now it's like leaning towards like we're just doing research on the monsters. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, in the first one, if you were on an egg quest, it wasn't like, it wasn't what it is today, where it's like annoying.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like egg quests are just annoying
yeah.
nowadays. um,
They
They
block
were-
off paths and stuff.
Yeah,
They
only
go out
af-
of their way to make it stupid difficult.
Only after you pick up
Yeah.
the egg. Like
well, I mean, they
yeah.
blocked off paths in the first one also.
Oh.
They did. But the problem, the difference between now and then is that then it wasn't treated with this sort of like, this is an egg quest. We have this difficulty spike in basically a gathering quest. You have to go carry this, and you're now slow and that kind of stuff. They actually made it extremely difficult in the original ones to do by yourself because it took so long.
Yep.
You would fail so much. So you had
So-
not only infinite spawning Velociprey, the
Who could
Velociprey,
hone in on you from a mile away.
literally half the screen they would jump.
I don't know why we're not.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're not talking about Balfangos.
Oh no, I was
I was-
getting there.
I was just
Bullfangos
thinking that
were
Powder
worse.
Stone quest. Oh my god.
Those are the worst.
Bullfangos were worse. They would all focus on you immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Immediate
it?
aggro.
Yeah,
Right-
the
right
aggro
away.
was immediate when you entered an area, so they all
Yeah.
came at
It
you.
was
at the
so
same time.
bad, and their charge time was just, it was almost shorter it seemed than it is now. But the crazy thing is that because the graphics were not the best, like I'm just thinking the volcano right now.
Yeah.
Half the time I couldn't even see the Bofangos until they were like close enough to me where they'd hit me.
And also their hitbox, I'm guessing, is larger and less accurate.
Yeah, definitely. Couldn't have been as accurate.
It was nuts. But it did make us really good at egg quests, because I do remember getting that powder stone back, and like you'd zigzag, you'd do the wiggle formation,
yes.
Yep.
and you'd alter when you sprint and when you lay off it, and you'd hit that sprint just right,
Yep.
so the Bullfang was right behind you. Yeah, I got that down.
Same.
Yeah, it was a far more harrowing event. And on top of all of that, nowadays you're on an egg quest. The big monster is something star equivalent.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if this is a specific example in Generations, but let's just say it's a Kutku, right? You would go in, and Kutku is the one basically guarding the egg.
Honestly,
right?
Kutku would be really annoying because he moves in a much, like, he's usually charging and it's a much smaller movement, so that would actually be terrifying.
Well, that level of a monster,
Yeah.
that level of difficulty, that health pool, whatever, however you want to say it. In the original Monster Hunter, it was Rathalos that was guarding those eggs.
Yeah.
And you were nowhere near the ability to be fighting a Rathalos yet. It was like fighting the Lagiacrus on the Monster Guts, or the Tigrex on the Popo Tongue,
Yeah.
or the Glavenus on the Abyssal Mushrooms. Like, it's not meant for you to win. You can't. I mean, you can.
You can.
You shouldn't.
If you come well prepared.
And in the older days, you couldn't. So there was this definite like not kind of like a horror to it. It's like I am in over my head. What is happening? And then you would get people like valiantly try to fight the monster off, but the monster hones in on who's carrying the egg. So you just had to hope he wasn't in the area, and you basically would have lookouts. You would have to say, okay, you could only ever basically have two carriers at the same time, because if you did all three were carriers and the one guy protecting was so risky, because it was weird, because again, with that zoning thing where the Lancer had to go in first with headlocking, the egg carriers had to go in first despite being protected, because the egg carriers are the ones that the minions mattered. So basically the guy who's protecting would wait till he's out of range, not accidentally hit some of the egg carriers, but he would kill the Velociprey on his screen.
Yeah, and they would die.
They would die on the egg carrier screen, but the egg carrier was having to deal with them as if the Velociprey were focusing on them, because that's literally the way it was. It was even though you saw each other, monsters only saw you. That's the way it worked, and that's why everything focused on you, because you were the only thing interesting in the room, despite your other friends being there. The monster, that's why you kind of got this turn-taking thing that eventually started happening, is because it saw you, and then it saw him, and then it saw him. It wasn't aware of everyone at once. It was aware of one person at a time. And it was very apparent that, okay, I've got the focus now. And it would just rotate, I think. I think it was a straight-up rotation on order of entry.
It was very, very harrowing. But I'd also like to point out that even in the Egg Quest in Monster Hunter 1, the Kelby would attack you without even being provoked.
Oh boy!
Because I remember once you got into the first area, you would think you'd be safe because there's just Kelby here, until 3 of them gang up on you and just knock you down, and you're like, what's going on? So you even had to dodge those things, and it was a mess.
That's it. I'm grabbing your horns.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a much more difficult game, but again, that core gameplay was still there. That the other thing that a lot of times we go back to, the ecology stuff is still there. those old ecology videos. There were old FMVs of every a couple monsters. That
Yeah.
when you have the crocodile hunter style plesia thing, where it comes out, the jaws like grabs an aptonaut, pulls it under. You think it's going to be okay, and then it gets pulled under again.
Keizu eating the Kelby whole.
Yeah, Keizu eating the Kelby. Diablos, two Diablos fighting for territory. That was cool, even though it was sort of muted, I would say. It wasn't like an intense fight. It was just them sort of clashing and then one just like slapping the other with his tail.
I'm watching it right now,
Oh,
actually.
and then Gravios just wandering into a nice bath.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm taking a nap, guys. Go away.
I'm going to go take a nap in some lava.
Yeah.
Just disappeared. Yeah.
But they've always wanted to do this ecology stuff, like you mentioned earlier, God. The ecology stuff was always there. It's just hard to get out of a PS2.
Yeah.
It's hard to get that kind of AI in there. So it was very stilted and stunted. But you would see things like, oh, it's injured, so it's going to go rest, or it would be as simple as it's thirsty, so now it's flying to Area 9 with a water pool and drinking out of the water.
It is impressive how they've always had given their monsters like actual life, even in the beginning, which was pretty neat.
And they feel believable. They feel like believable creatures.
Yeah.
They always have, which is, again, why I love Ignactor so much, is because here's this fire molten lava dragon that bores through the ceiling and dives out of the ground, and just like a corkscrew, and it still feels like a believable thing.
Yeah.
It still feels like that could exist, at least in that world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at all of the research and behind the scenes they put into the monsters, like Tetsukabra. They literally studied frogs, like to see how they move. And everything. Like the tiny little minute movements and stuff it's all calculated out. They all do that, and they've done that since the beginning, which is very impressive.
Yes, it is. So did you guys have anything else to interject about what it was like to play first generation, or do you think we covered it?
Looking back, it was pretty awful. Gravios one-shot me more times than I can count. Fatalis was a one-hit kill no matter what. You had to have a bowgun. It was.
Oh,
I love that.
I do want to say that that was a thing. Fatalis was like, "You are bowgunning, or we are not participating."
Yo, yeah.
I'm still really salty about that because I remember getting to up to ready to do Fatalis, and I'm good to go. I got the best armor I can, the best weapon. I show up and they're like, "No, you don't have the Fatalis bowgun." I was like, "Yeah, I haven't fought him yet." They're like, "Yeah, but you have to have it to fight him." I'm like, "What?"
No, you just needed something for class level 2s, so you carry 99 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, seriously. And then you got really good at combining on the spot. But it was really interesting because having that mindset of Fatalis was so insanely difficult. He was one shot pretty much no matter what.
I do remember, this memory sticks with me. There was one hunter I played with, and he was using the Eternal Annihilator, and he was meleeing the Fatalis. I forget.
That's incredibly
impressive. What
impressive.
armor he was using.
The only experience I had with someone meleeing Fatalis was probably a hack, because we went in, this guy said, "I'm going to headlock Fatalis with Black Dragon Spear." And I was like, okay. He's like, "But I can only be the only one in the arena. That everyone else has to sit in the base." And we're like, okay, let's do it. I don't know why, but 30-some minutes later, however, it was actually quite a while, he killed it, and we went over and he was dead. And I was like, oh.
Nice.
Okay, that was awesome. We could have done it.
Even the hacks were hard.
Even the hacks took 30 minutes. I was like, we could have killed them in half the time with all bowgun, but that was cool. Good job.
I'm curious of whether it was how the aggro was that might have helped him do it.
Could have been.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's probably, and that's why we believed about them, because Fatalis very clearly would switch from player to player to player.
Yes.
In Monster Hunter 1.
Well, what I was going to say is that while it was a thing to say that you have to bowgun it, another friend and I said, "No, screw you. We're great sword users," and we did it
Nice.
one time.
Wow.
That's really impressive. I never even attempted it in Monster Hunter 1.
What would you have to use? Do all of his basic attacks do dragon? I felt like that might have been a thing. They all had dragon elements. If you try to use Fatalis armor or Rathlos armor, you just get wrecked.
I don't even remember what I was wearing. I just remember that we had 2 people on the doing the bowgun route, and then him and I on great swords.
Mhm.
He covered the tail and the back legs, and I covered the chest and the head. As much
That's
as
a dangerous
could.
spot to be, because when he goes down for that snap and drag, it's like as soon as he goes down in Monster
Yeah.
Hunter 1, that started
Yeah.
the one-hit KO.
You had to
Get
and
out.
run.
Yeah, get out.
Yeah.
I have this
Um,
weird fantasy where I feel like if you wore all the best Hornitar armor with like the highest dragon resistance, you could melee Fatalis. I don't know if the armor would hold up, but I just want to believe that it's possible.
Hornitar armor looked amazing in
Oh,
Monster Hunter 1.
It was so good,
Yeah,
but it was also
Looked like a
so
Gundam.
hard to get.
It did look like a Gundam. It was really cool.
yeah. I was gonna say is one thing we should also mention, and I've mentioned this in previous podcasts myself. Green sharpness was as far as it went.
Yep.
That was it.
Yep,
Yeah.
that was it.
Which was interesting, because I remember being stuck on yellow for quite a while on hammer, but like when I started going on a dual sword pass, like you got green pretty quickly, which was kind of cool.
It didn't even matter with
Yeah,
Lance. You could like pierce at yellow.
Yeah.
And Sword and Shield too.
Um,
Sword and Shield had a weird pierce thing too. You could pierce like Gravios wings and stuff. Or maybe that was in
Huh.
PSP versions.
Did sharpness increase attack, or was it purely what you could hit?
It increases the attack modifier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like how much damage you do. at
So
the
it
end.
is like how it is now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the formula is even the same
I think so too.
now. Which
I
green
wouldn't
is
doubt it. Yeah.
green is even. It is a 1 ratio. So you were always doing reduced damage. It felt like.
Yeah, pretty much. Which made it even more difficult, because the monsters even had higher HP. You're doing less damage.
Yeah.
It was a big FU game, basically, to the players.
Yeah, and we still loved it.
Yeah, we did.
So yeah, that's basically it. Again, Monster Hunter Freedom, which was the equivalent of the expansion, didn't really add that much aside from the subspecies and
Garuga.
Yi and Garuga. One last thing I wanted to touch on is in the original game, the Forest and Hills was a big map, but there was a jungle, and the jungle was its own jungle that I don't think ever reappeared.
No, I missed that jungle a lot, actually.
It was in the
So-
PSP versions, I think.
Of Freedom 2, the jungle was replaced with a different jungle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the different jungle was more, it had like a beach, if you remember.
Mhm.
And it had that sort of cave, like giant open cave in the middle, and then you would get to the
Oh,
other
yeah.
side, which is the more jungle area. The original Monster Hunter did have caves in its jungle, but it was more like a bamboo-ish forest on one end, and then you would go to another end. And don't get me wrong, I think this jungle was in other games. But
I think
don't
it was
think,
I think it was in Unite. They brought it back in the G rank.
because I remember fighting Kangala in the original
Mhm.
jungle, but I think they called it the old jungle.
Yeah, I
at
think
that
it was in
point.
Unite.
Even the swamp from Monster Hunter 1 took a while to get back in, I think. I think they took it out.
It's definitely in Generations because I played it today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely in Generations, but I don't remember seeing it. It wasn't in the third generation. I don't know if it was
So
the second.
Freedom Unite, I think, had all of the old maps, and they called them old. So it was
Oh, okay.
Volcano old, Jungle old.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who have played Freedom Unite have probably played the original Monster Hunter maps. But I think everything at one point was changed. So there was the original desert, which the original desert is the way we see it now in Generations is that original desert, but it's been severely changed. So
Yeah, with the
that
hills.
first area, you have these dunes that you're running across. That used to be a flat, open plain with like
And
It
much
was
bigger,
like-
too.
Mhm.
yeah, it was very bigger. A lot of cacti and palm trees, and it was just an open area. And then with basically the same connections to caves, the exact same spots on the map, except it took an extra 3.5 minutes to get to that cave.
Yeah. And there were like 10 Cephalos flying around everywhere.
Yeah, which you would not be able to hit out of the ground.
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
I remember failing
Uh,
quests because it's like, oh, I'm out of sonic bombs and I can't get these stupid bastards to
Yeah,
come at me.
the Piscine liver is just not
It took
okay.
me so long to figure out how to get past that.
Yeah.
Because at first I did try with a hammer to get them out of the ground. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
It was they had a high threshold for getting out. You just had to hope they get out, which wasn't often. So you had so the original forest and hills, the jungle, the desert, the original volcano. Um, it's very different in the fact that I think even in the remastered version they didn't keep some of the same areas. I think because there's one area that has basically a giant curve around an island, and then it goes into the peak of the volcano, and it's reversed. It's into a circle around that island, and that island isn't there. It's just lava in the middle in the redone maps of that day and age. But it used to just be an island. That's where the monsters slept, is that area, and they would just stand there and spam fireballs and fire beams at you, depending on what they could do. So that was an endless suck, I guess.
And I think too, I think if you didn't catch the wrath loss, or if you didn't have poison throwing knives, it would just sleep and you couldn't get to it.
Yep, nothing you could do.
Yeah.
Gravius was the same way.
Yeah.
And then Gravius would wake up and then just spam fire beam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I paid to have a gunner. Luckily,
Yeah.
I mean, my brother and I shared a PS2, but he's always been he always went gunner, and so watching him play back in the day was really kind of, I hesitate to say inspiring because that gives him more credit than he's worth, but it was really cool to see that.
Nice.
It was really, he doesn't play Monster anymore. It's like, what the
Okay.
heck?
He doesn't deserve the
Come
credit,
on, man.
then.
But he is getting world, so that's a plus.
Nice.
And I can't wait to play with him. But we never played it, so I would watch him play. And it was really interesting to see how differently he played. And that was one of the things, the advantages he had as a gunner, is he was always able to hit the monster pretty much, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And especially back in Monster Hunter 1, as a gunner it was quite risky.
It was so
because
unique
of the
too.
hitboxes and everything.
Not many people.
It was
gunned.
unique.
You didn't gun until you were about to fight Vitalis. That was basically it.
Yeah, well, it was expensive, and you wasted your money on armor
that's true.
armor and weapons and everything else, and buying on Claw Day, it was
Yeah,
a
Claw
lot to go
Day.
away.
There goes all your 300,000 Zenny or whatever.
Yeah, and Honey Day, it was a mess.
Honey Day is still a mess.
Yeah. One thing I do want to mention is that in the online hub in the original game, you had to go to the blacksmith to be able to change out armor and weapons. It wasn't just in the quest area or something like that. It wasn't convenient to change items at all.
Yeah, it was a real pain. It really was. But at least the blacksmith was really cool. I really did like that area as opposed to just a counter.
Yeah,
online,
it's
at
actually
least.
very much like what they've showed in Monster Hunter World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
At least in aesthetics.
It does look pretty sweet.
So yeah.
Also in Monster Hunter 1 online, did you guys ever I mean, a lot of, I think it's what's funny is what I'm really proud and happy to see on the forums and on Reddit and everything else, and just in the Monster Hunter culture, is a lot of the original Monster Hunter 1 memes, if you will, from the day are still hold strong. And I know one that's disappeared that's probably close to Fortuan and Crow's heart is Poogie, the pig.
Oh yeah.
And he's come up many
pig.
times. Yeah, you had to pet the pig, but I just remember anytime before we would hunt Lao, we'd go to the 5 different rooms at the inn and pet each different pig because we thought each one gave us more luck.
To get the plates or something. Yeah.
Yeah, man, and it took an extra 10 minutes of prep for everyone to go pet their damn pigs to get back into the hall. It was a mess.
Is Poogie confirmed yet in World?
No.
Nope.
I'm not
No,
playing
we
it.
haven't seen them yet.
This is my one speculation. So, the moss swine are there, but I don't think that they're going to come back. And my reasoning is that it's very hard to make a pig look cute with textures that are HD.
Real life pigs are cute, so I don't understand.
I don't know. I mean, you ever see a pig in a blue and white striped
Yeah,
pajamas.
it's
Pretty
never
damn
it's
cute.
never naked. You always have it in a nice, cute costume. It's like your own little Poogie.
Never nude Poogies. Never nude.
never, never knew.
In all honesty, I really
But and
liked
also
the little sheep, but the llamas.
Oh,
sorry.
what are they called?
Mufas.
Mufas.
They're
Yeah.
llamas.
Mufas, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were all right. They're no Poogie, but they were all right.
I just had mine in a little apple. That was good.
But also the Plesioth meme stemmed from Monster Hunter 1 as well, because that's when his hip check was extremely bad.
It was like
Hips for
So-
days. Oh, he was huge in Monster
Well,
Hunter
he was like one of the I think
Right.
he was like the biggest, wasn't he? The biggest monster.
him and Gravius, I think, tied.
Yeah, like excluding all
Besides
the
Lao Shan,
Vitalis,
of course.
excluding those guys. Yeah.
yeah.
Now Glacian was definitely longer. I'll give you that. I think both Gravius and Plesioth were taller.
Yeah, Plesioth was extremely tall. Like, I remember fighting up against him, and most of the time when you were up close, you wouldn't even see, I guess, what are they called? His knees?
Yes.
I guess he has knees. You wouldn't see his knees on the screen when you were actually fighting him on his feet, because he was just so
Yeah,
tall.
gold crown Plesioth. Oh my god.
Oh, jeez.
And no one had water armor. Like no one was ready for that. Like
No, that beam
Yeah.
would hit you like a rocket, and it was just, you wouldn't
Yeah.
see it coming.
The only-
and he put you to sleep half
the only
time.
way you'd have
And
water armor is if you just already fought Plesioth so many times that you had water armor, so that there was no reason you would ever fight Plesioth again.
Because you wouldn't want to.
There was a lobster armor in Monster Hunter 1, 3 pieces.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how I first discovered the skills, and
That
it made
was-
you look ridiculous, but I used it. But
There
I think
was-
you had to fight Plesioth to get parts of that too. Anyway,
Yeah,
so.
like the
Yeah, you did.
like lobster
Uh,
tail.
It's like small lobster shells or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Small
dropped
and
from-
large.
Yeah.
And they dropped from Plesioth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because he ate them in the lore. The one of the rumors was that in the jungle that there was an area just before the caves that Kazoo was always in. So this area was basically knee-high water that you would run through, maybe ankle-high. But you would see little lobsters scooting around in the water, and it was a rumor that you could kill those lobsters and carve them.
There's so many weird rumors like that.
Yeah.
there were so many weird rumors. Yeah, I never heard that. I tried to catch those lobsters and just kept getting frogs and stuff, and eventually gave up.
Yeah.
But I never heard the kill and carve. That's
yeah.
fun.
There was definitely the rumor that you could get them outside of Plesioth, and I tried many times to follow that rumor.
To no avail.
Yes, to no avail.
But yeah,
So yeah, the game was basically built on sticks and stones that would break you.
Yeah.
Man.
from across the map.
And there really like going back, there really was like so little in customization. It was like you had Rathalos armor, or maybe you had like Diablos armor. I don't think did anyone else like wear anything else besides like Lao Shan Lung and Fatalis? Like that was it.
Rathian was a good jump-in set. A lot of
Yep,
people
I used Rathian because it had a health and or at
Okay,
least health, I
yeah.
believe.
And the female armor set always had that sort of big, giant buttress skirt.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That was
That's been around
was
forever, I
popular.
think.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
a lot of people
Um,
don't like that the females have those giant armored skirt things, but I think those are badass in my opinion.
I've never heard people complain about that. but
Well,
again,
well, I guess a lot of people mostly complain about how women have the open-faced helmets because they think they look stupid.
yes.
Yeah,
There-
I
I've
could
heard
see
that.
that.
there
yeah.
are a few armor sets that don't, but yeah.
And then like
Um,
they're like mostly fan service. Like, well, I don't want to say Kieran because man, Kieran got the assless chaps. So
yeah. Man,
Kieran's in an
Kieran
armor
got
class
the-
all of its
Yeah.
own.
literally,
It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, and that's been in since Monster Hunter 1,
Yeah,
too,
you don't-
is that armor
Yeah,
set.
you don't wear Kieran armor to
Or-
like to have good defense or do anything like to win. You wear Kieran armor just to
Yeah.
look good.
Well, mixed sets, I used it for elemental attack in Unite and Portable.
Yeah.
No, just in Unite, I think I used it for. It was pretty
I
good.
saw on
But
the,
yeah,
the Monster Hunter subreddit that one of the variant armor,
Mm.
or like not armor,
For-
but the variant skins of the Monster Hunter in Marvel vs.
Capcom
Capcom.
versus
Yeah,
Marvel.
yeah, yeah. It was a Kieran
Yeah,
armor
Infinite,
with
yeah.
the Kieran weapons, so that was interesting.
Kieran Greatsword.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing it's the counterpart weapons too, because she uses dual blades and bow too.
Yeah, probably. They only showed the Greatsword.
Yeah, it
though.
was a promotional picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense. Of course, they're gonna pick the iconic Kieran armor for her sub.
Also, holy crap, she is jacked. Have you seen like the visuals of her? She's like
Yeah.
super, like she's not like I don't want to be like subjective, but most of the girls in Monster Hunter are very
Petite.
yeah, they're like the perfect, like they have nice chests and butts and they're somehow still thin. But she actually is very like muscular and built. She has broad shoulders. It's funny.
I like what they did with her. They made her, and especially in the story trailer too, they made her, like you said earlier, she's a
Yeah.
badass. They made her a
She
warrior.
like visually
and that's
looks
what they needed to do.
built
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
She's Black Panther's right hand girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen the story.
Okay,
I watched
nice.
it on YouTube. She is basically his, I don't want to say bodyguard, but she reports directly to him.
Number one.
And Black Panther is the king of the world. Their little mixed up world of Monster Hunter, which is always thought was weird because the Monster Hunter map, it's like here's a armored rhino pulling a cart in a desert that has a statue of a Rathalos and a Black Panther, and I was like, okay, so the tie-in with Black Panther I see, but why is it not an Aptonoth pulling the cart? Why is it a rhino? Like, did we just not have enough African theme here?
Right. Let's pull a little more of the resources. Let's have a little bit of a better mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I don't think I have a lot more to say on the original Monster Hunter. Do you guys? I think we covered quite a bit.
Enough.
Covered quite a bit.
All right, so for the end of this, Wrath of Gog has a quiz prepared for the three of us. The rest of the three of us.
Is it as hard as
So-
that other quiz I saw the other day? Because that was tough.
Oh yeah, so Shady Figure in our chat had posted a trivia thing that he had made 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh, somewhere between Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate
yeah,
and 4.
it's quite a while ago.
Which was 40 questions of pure torture and very difficult.
Which I did
stuff.
not look at. I did not look at that quiz.
I didn't look at it either.
It gave me a small
like-
conniption.
It was a lot about the Japanese stuff too, so like I didn't know too much about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't feel like that's
it
fair.
was like, what's the English version of Butterfit of Fudu-doo-doo-doo?
Burukafu
Like, lots of
or
oohs.
whatever. Yeah, I've heard of that name. But,
Oh, that guy, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's one of the original ones, I think. But
So, first question. Which weapons were not available in Japan's version of Monster Hunter 1, yet were present in the other releases?
dual blades.
It was dual blade, and there was one more. But I can't remember. So Alright.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I didn't know this, but that would be dual swords. I learned that today, right?
Okay,
Hopefully.
cool.
Okay.
Okay, so you were all right. You all said dual blades. Jealous
Nice.
almost said that there were two things, but it was just dual
Oh,
blades.
okay.
Technically,
Um,
2 swords.
Gotcha.
Nice.
I can't take this stuff. I'm the one that's supposed to make those puns. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so y'all got it right. So that's okay. So question number 2. So this monster was wait, wrong. That's a follow up. Okay. So A two-headed undead cobra monster called the Crypt Hydra was planned to be in the original Monster Hunter, but was removed because blank.
I have no idea. Probably because, oh, here's a good answer. Because the hitboxes would have been too insane. There. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay,
I have no idea.
sweet.
It was removed because they couldn't handle the AI. It was too complicated.
Okay. Okay. So we went from everyone getting it right to everyone getting it wrong.
Yeah, solidarity. That's right, guys.
Yeah. Okay. So it was funny. I think Vengeful said he had no idea, but he said the hitboxes would be too insane. Jealous just said he had no idea, and Fortuan said something that was kind of interesting, which was that the AI would be too confusing to
Difficult.
interpret, yet to create.
I
Yeah.
would believe that, yeah.
The actual answer was that it was removed because of negative reception from fans who didn't want to see a supernatural monster in the game.
Huh.
Ooh,
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
thank
so I
you,
guess-
fans. I
Yeah,
like
because
that,
it was
actually.
a two-headed undead cobra monster.
Oh, the undead, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't pick up
And
on
Which
that.
is
they were
sort
like-
of what they repurposed into Narcocos.
Yeah.
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 Not a fan of that guy.
Which
Dang it, they should have listened to their fans 20 years ago, or 15.
Yeah, they really did that, eh?
it's not
Nakarkos is-
undead though. It's just
Well-
bones covering two tentacles that look like heads.
Yeah. Spoilers, if you haven't beat him.
It's just bones covering two tentacles that look like heads. Yeah, no, that's definitely better than undead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually glad there's not, like, too much crazy stuff. Like, with Double Cross and that rocket-powered guy, I kind of feel like it's, like, getting away from the whole, like, natural ecology and stuff like that.
100% agree. That's what I love about Monster Hunter is that everything's so,
Yeah.
like, monsters are based off of real animals. Like, there's Urukutsu is a bunny.
Yeah. Exactly.
Literally.
I'm excited.
I'm
Anyway.
sure they could explain Rocket Dragon in some way. I mean,
Oh, I'm sure they could, but, like, it's, like, harder to connect
It's-
with a Western audience in that way.
well, I mean, you think about it, the fireball, whatever, right, coming out of the mouth, it just means that it has those chemical reactions coming out of siphons in its wings.
It's done. You've convinced me. It's fine. Bring on the rocket-powered dragons.
That's that. I mean, that would be my interpretation at
Done.
least. All right. Question 3, I guess. Gog. How many do we have?
Well,
5.
that's the thing. You just kind of screwed one of them. You said the thing about Nakarkos, which is actually the next question was this monster was later thought to be revamped in a new game. Which one? And that was going to be Nakarkos. So,
Well, let's just say we probably all would have gotten that one at least.
would you jealous?
I might have messed it up.
Oh, dang
Okay,
it.
I'll
Dang it,
give you.
Jealous.
I'll just give you all points. I'll just pretend. I mean, it doesn't matter if I gave you points or not points. It's still
Is
the
it
same
either-
place.
Is this like whose lines it anyway? The points don't
It's
matter.
either generations or
It's all
for
made
you,
up,
right?
and the points don't matter. We didn't
Okay.
make it up, and the points matter.
So that would mean that I have 3 questions left. So
Okay,
it's not
that's
bad.
fine.
Okay,
Stop messing
Question-
up 420. Come on.
so question 3.
I like to talk.
No, Gog likes to talk.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, I'm actually talking too much now. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. Why are we whispering?
I don't know, like it.
So, what was the original initial release date down to the month of Monster Hunter 1? Japan, America, Europe are all acceptable answers.
I think it was like May 2004. I'm guessing.
Okay.
It was March in Japan and September in the U.S.
Okay. Well, I need the year too.
Oh, yeah. 2004.
Okay, thanks.
I don't think I know the actual day, but I want to say it was September of 2004. I know it was 2004 sometime, but I don't know the exact day or even really the month.
Okay. Sweet. Okay. So, you all got it right.
Oh,
Somehow.
yes.
I'm actually really surprised. Fortuan was showing off, and he had 2 of them. He had Japan and America.
Yep.
Jealous, out of sheer luck. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. No, Jealous actually didn't get it.
Damn it.
So it was March 2004, not May
Damn it.
2004.
Oh, it was March? Oh, I didn't get it either then.
Well, no. You actually did. You got the North American release, which was September
yes!
2004.
Go me.
So, yeah.
Damn it.
What was the day? Was it the 4th?
March 11th
it
in
was-
Japan, and it was September 21st.
Oh,
think.
wow.
Jesus, Fortuan, you insane
yeah,
man.
Yeah. Outside. It's a place.
Yeah.
Hey,
No, that's
Okay.
I hate
Oh.
outside.
I'm allergic to the outside.
I'm agoraphobic.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I mean, I guess it makes sense that like if there's claustrophobia, there'd be like non-claustrophobia.
The opposite of that. I'm scared of
Agoraphobia.
Opposite of claustrophobia.
Yeah, there is
that's
a
a
fear
different
of wide
thing, but
open
also a
spaces.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fear of wide spaces is what it
Yep.
is. Which I guess would make sense if you're like in space, but I don't know.
I think that's a whole different fear.
Yeah, because you're not really in an
Yeah.
open space in space, if you know what I mean.
Well, it's a pretty open space.
But you're in a spaceship in space.
Well, what if you were in the space of space, though?
But you don't.
You're dead,
kinda in
and you don't
space.
care.
But like I'm in a house right now.
True. Very true. Probably frozen. Okay.
Next question.
Tone it down a little bit.
Okay.
So, what are the 4 original types of quests in Monster Hunter 1, like, listing off their names?
Hunting, capture, gathering, and it's purple. I'm going to say repel.
Okay.
If I heard that right or understood it right, I think it's like capture, hunt, gathering, and whatever the purple ones were, which I think were like event or legendary quests, I guess.
Okay. So, I need a confirm on whether it was legendary or champion. Is that the other one that you said? I don't know which one.
I said
Like, I couldn't tell
event
which one you
or
said.
legendary. So since I didn't say champion, let's go with legendary then. Sounds cooler anyway. Or purple. Is purple an answer?
No. Sorry. It's not
Damn.
colors. So,
All right,
legendary.
Legendary.
I think it's gather, hunt, capture, and repel.
Okay, thank you. Ooh, that was I feel really bad for you, Vengeful. So
Yeah.
the purple one, the one that no one knew, was event.
Oh, it was event?
Oh,
Yeah,
What?
and So Fortuan and JealousCrow said it was repel.
yeah.
Yeah, because
And
that's what
Vengeful said-
Fatalis has.
Yeah.
And Vengeful was like, "Oh, I think it's event or legendary or whatever," and then he muted, and I was like, "Wait a minute." Wait, no, you were right. And I went back and I was like, I think you said event or legend or champion or something.
Yeah, you're like legendary or champion, and I was like, oh, I didn't say champion, so that must be it. So I'll just be honest and go legendary. I was like, I think it was event. Should have been purple.
Yeah, I could have done it by color, but I thought that might be too easy.
That's pretty easy.
You know, for you, you old timers.
So no
Okay.
one got it then?
Nope.
Damn.
All right.
Almost pulled into the lead, Vengeful.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
So close.
Okay. So next question, last question.
Okay.
What was the length of time, days, months, years, whatever, between the cancellation of MH1's online servers in Japan compared to outside Japan, and which was first?
So I'm pretty sure that U.S. would have been first, based on how popular it was over in Japan compared to U.S. It wasn't popular in the U.S. And it had to be, God, I want to say a year probably until the Japanese ones went down. Maybe 2 years, but I'm going to say a year.
Okay.
I'm just gonna guess because I don't know. So I'm gonna say, U.S. Europe went down first, and it was a
Okay.
difference of a year.
Okay.
I have no idea.
You want to give a guess?
Like when it was canceled.
Yeah.
Like the
Or which one went first, at least?
between. Sorry, could you repeat it?
So,
Between Monster Hunter 1.
yeah, it was between the cancellation of Monster Hunter 1 in Japan compared to outside of Japan.
I'd say probably Japan would probably go first because I'm guessing they had resources in like other sequels.
Sorry, can you say that
I
again?
say Japan went first because they probably had resources into like the sequels of Monster Hunter. So they would just
Okay.
no one would probably play the first one if everyone's playing second or third or whatever. All right,
Yeah.
that's what
And then what do you think was the time in between?
I have no idea. A couple months. I have no idea.
Okay, cool. Oh my god. Okay. So, none of you got that one right.
Damn.
But it was actually funny because Jealous kind of had an interesting thing because it was outside of Japan, so it was the West first that canceled.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Jealous had a really interesting thought because he was like, oh, well, maybe they canceled in Japan. Excuse me, maybe they canceled in Japan first because it was probably released in Japan first, and they would be moving on to a different game, so they wouldn't have as many people on the servers, which I thought was a really good idea. But unfortunately, it was wrong.
Damn it.
I think since this is going to be a tiebreaker between Vengeful and Fortuan, since you were both right about one part, we're going to go on how close you were to the actual difference, and that'll be the tiebreaker.
Ooh.
Okay.
So, Vengeful, you said 1 year.
Yeah.
Fortuan, you said...
1 year.
I thought... Oh.
It's a tie.
Shit, I thought you said
It's a
2.
double tie.
No, I said 1.
Okay. Well, you tied the tiebreaker, and now I'm going to go, like, find some random thing off the internet,
Okay.
and we're gonna duel out. Give me a second.
What was the color of the event? Quest of Monster 1. Purple. I win. Yes!
I got that right too, though.
What was the
You all went, which one's the purple one after you said the other thing? That's
Yeah.
so funny.
what's the drop
Yeah,
rate?
that's about
what's
right.
the drop rate of a Nova Crystal from the mines in the swamp? There's no way I know
Oh,
this
God.
off by heart.
Jesus.
Oh, God, no.
Do you actually know that?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay. It's like, whoa.
So Monster Hunter is the third best-selling franchise of Capcom currently. What are the 2 games that or game series that are above it? As in first and second.
Resident Evil and Street Fighter.
Okay.
This is really going to display how little I know about Capcom outside of this, but I'm going to have to go ahead and say, and this might not even be right. I don't even think it's the right publisher or developer. Street Fighter and Resident Evil. I don't know.
Okay. What the hell? This is so...
We didn't get it right, did we?
Vengeful guessed. He had no idea, and he got them both.
Yes! Yes!
I should have said the order. Maybe that would have helped. But then again, you probably would have guessed Resident Evil is higher, and then it wouldn't have mattered.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't care. We're going again. I mean, well, are you willing to try to edit through all this bull
Yeah, I'm
crap?
fine. Oh, so
Okay.
are we both tied again?
Yeah.
You made it
Both
sound
got
like
it
you,
right. That's-
you most. you
I
said-
didn't know. I don't really know much else outside of Capcom.
No, I know that answer actually. I know that Resident Evil is their top and Street Fighter is their second. Especially when Street Fighter, whatever crap version it's on the Switch, sold super well.
I just wanted to point out that there's also on this random trivia thing I just looked up, there is a thing about all the different names people give monsters, like nicknames. Excuse me. And one of them was Joassic Park for Devil Joe. I've never heard that before.
Me neither, actually.
Here's Joni.
I haven't heard that
I like it.
Jesus.
Here's Jody.
And then one which is the most common nickname,
Jail.
obviously,
Jail.
is G.I. Joe.
Oh God.
Which doesn't make sense because immediately before that is Giant Angry Pickle, which is obviously the only one people use.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's-
think the community that we're a bigger
Oh.
part of is Reddit, and they have their own lexicon, a lot of different things.
There's also Ass Joel, which is, probably pronounced with the Spanish pronunciation of Joe.
Oh, okay.
Ho.
Hmm.
Halitosis instead of halitosis.
Oh gosh.
just JoJo, like the anime,
Uh,
Rex, and Barney.
okay, yeah,
I've heard
I've
Barney
seen
before.
Barney, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's funny.
Sam Trios' fat mode was called Jabba the Shark Frog.
Okay.
I've never. What? This is
Not
so
that
weird.
creative there.
No. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
Let's get our tiebreaker.
Yeah, we gotta find this now.
This is stressful.
I know. I can't believe you guys are going so long.
You guys need to. Oh, I have to say the question. Oh,
Yeah.
It's a little
ninja sword.
I say Hornets are.
Okay.
Pretty sure Ninja Sword was composed of ore and fatalis parts, I guess.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it to Vengeful because it was Fatalis parts, but it wasn't ore. It
Oh.
was Fatalis crust, a guild ticket, and 5 egg tickets.
Ooh.
It's over.
I feel cheated.
What did you say, Fortuan?
I said Hornets are.
Oh, you said Ninja Sword, and I immediately went to Odyssey, and I was like, Odyssey's only made of ore, so that's
well.
where,
I'm looking at
where I was
Odyssey.
going,
It looks like it's made with more than just ore. It has like
oh, is it really?
Gravios wing, Basarios wing, and a Rathalos wing.
Oh, maybe that's.
Oh, yeah, I
maybe they
remember
changed
that. It was
yeah.
the one, it was all the wings. I had that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had that too.
Yeah.
Apparently, I got mixed up.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, there you go.
All right. I lost.
Thank God. Been waiting for that the whole time. Oh, you
Okay.
know the one that you were thinking of, Fortuan, was the Black Katana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, MK.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a cool one too.
Thank you, hunters, for joining us, and we'll see you next quest.
Happy hunting.
Happy hunting, guys. Thanks for having me.
Whoopee.
Thank you for joining us today, hunters. You can catch our latest episodes on SoundCloud, and everything else you can catch on Reddit, Google Drive Download, and YouTube.